Gurung community of Nepal observed Tamil Loshar today as the community's new year. Observe a special program at Tudi Hill, Kathmandu. 64 parties submit closed list on a proportional representation system for Nepal's upcoming election. Election Commission determines spending limits for candidates. Nepal's Prime Minister says the government is committed to building the nation based on the lessons from the past, addressing special program marking Tamil Loshar. Bangladesh's first female Prime Minister, Khaleda Zia, passes away from prolonged illness at the age of 80. US President Donald Trump says he hopes to reach phase 2 of Gaza ceasefire very quickly after meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. And departmental teams, Nepal Police and APF advances to the semi-finals in the women's category of the ongoing 9th NTV Volleyball Championship. Good evening, I am April Singh Lama and this is NTV World Primetime News coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Across the globe, it's 1:15 p.m. in London, 10:15 p.m. in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in details. The Gurung community of Nepal is observing the Tamil Loshar today as the community's new year. In the Gurung language, Lo means year and Sar denotes change. Members of the Gurung community mark the festival by organizing feasts and cultural programs. The festival is marked on the 15th day of the Nepali month of Push, with the first rays of the sunlight reaching the Gurung settlements in Lamjung, Gorkha, Tanohu, Syangja, Manang, Kaski and Parbat. The festival is marked by the Tamang and Sherpa communities later in the Nepali months Magh and Fagun respectively. The government has announced a public holiday on the occasion of Tamil Loshar today. Members of the Gurung community have been observing a special program at Tudi Hill, Kathmandu on the occasion of Tamil Loshar. The Gurungs divide their year into 12 cycles and each cycle is represented by 12 different animals: Garuda, serpent, horse, sheep, monkey, bird, dog, deer, mouse, cow, tiger and cat, which they call Lo. During each Losa, they bid farewell to the existing Lo and welcome a new one. This year, the Gurung community is going to celebrate Losar by bidding farewell to the snake cycle and welcoming the horse cycle on Tuesday. Now, as celebrations continue, the country is also preparing for the upcoming March 5 House of Representatives election, with political parties completing key formalities. A total of 64 political parties have submitted closed list under the proportional representation system. The political parties participating in the March 5 election were asked to submit the PR closed list at the Office of Election Officer under PR system established at Bahadur Bhawan-based election office on December 28 and 29. Election Commission spokesperson Narayan Prasad Bhattrai shared that 64 political parties submitted their closed list till early this morning. Names of 3,424 candidates of 64 parties have been included in the closed list for 110 places under the PR system. Out of 64 political parties, 54 political parties are using their own election symbols, while remaining 10 parties would use shared election symbols. A total of 93 political parties had filed application in the EC to file candidacy under PR system. The EC would give time to the political parties from January 5 to 11 to make any correction or ask insufficient documents after investigating the closed list on January 4. The final list of the closed list under PR system would be published on February 3rd. Now, meanwhile, Nepal's Election Commission, EC, has determined the maximum amount that a candidate can spend for the House of Representatives HOR election scheduled for March 5, 2026. As determined by the EC, the spending limit is different for remote districts and others with better access to services and connectivity networks. According to the EC, the candidates from constituencies 1, 3, 6, 7 and 8 can spend up to rupees 2.5 million. Likewise, 2.7 million Nepali rupees of spending limit is set for the candidates from 17 constituencies. The candidates from 65 other constituencies can spend a maximum of 2.9 million Nepali rupees. And EC spokesperson Narayan Prasad Bhattrai said that the candidates from 52 election constituencies can spend up to 3.1 million Nepali rupees and 3.3 million by the candidates of 26 elections constituencies. The Election Commission has also asked the candidates to open a separate bank account in a bank and financial institution for the purpose of the HOR election, and a responsible person should be named for the spending authority during the election. After the completion of the poll, the candidates should submit the election cost to the EC within 35 days of the poll as per the HOR Member Election Act. As Nepal prepares for its upcoming elections, Prime Minister Sushila Karki has reaffirmed the government's commitment to building a nation young people desire through peaceful, constitutional and democratic processes. Addressing the Tamul Lohsar festival at Tutikil of Kathmandu, the Prime Minister said that free and fair elections conducted in an atmosphere of enthusiasm from the main foundation of democracy.
राजनीतिक दलहरूका तर्फबाट उत्साहका साथ समानुपातिक निर्वाचन प्रणालीमा तर्फका उम्मेदवारहरूको बन्द सूची निर्वाचन आयोगमा पेश भएका छन्। यसबाट निर्वाचन सम्पन्न गर्ने दिशामा नयाँ कोसे ढुङ्गा पार गरेका छौं। यसका लागि राजनीतिक दलको नेतृत्व तथा युवाहरूले देखाउनु भएको सुझबुझका लागि आभार व्यक्त गर्दछु। सरकारले शान्ति, सुरक्षा र सुव्यवस्था कायम गर्दै भयरहित वातावरणमा निर्वाचन सम्पन्न गर्न कुनै कसर बाँकी राखेको छैन। यस कार्यमा सबै राजनीतिक दल, नागरिक समाज र सम्पूर्ण नेपाली दाजुभाइ दिदीबहिनीहरूको साथ सहयोग र सक्रिय सहभागिता अत्यन्त आवश्यक छ। मुलुकले अब थप अस्थिरता होइन, स्थायित्व र विश्वास चाहेको छ। हामी सबै मिलेर शान्ति, एकता र समृद्धिको मार्गमा अघि बढ्नुको विकल्प छैन।
Now, against the backdrop of Nepal's approaching March 5 elections, former presidents Dr. Ramparan Yadav and Bidya Devi Bhandari held a meeting today to discuss the country's political situation. According to former President Bhandari's secretariat, the meeting took place at the residence of Nepali Congress Central Committee member Kiran Yadav in Lajimpat. The two leaders discussed the current political situation of the country, including the activities of the incumbent government. They also exchanged views on contemporary issues such as the March 5 election to the House of Representatives and the overall political outlook, reflecting continued high-level attention to Nepal's democratic process. We will take a short break here. More news coming up. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. Welcome back. Nepal marked its first National Mushroom Day to promote production, consumption and exports of mushrooms. Mushrooms play a growing role in the agricultural economy, involving about 35,000 farmers and contributing 0.15% to agricultural GDP. With favorable climate conditions, year-round cultivation has expanded to 70 districts. Nepal has over 1,150 mushroom species, and exports now exceed imports, with the annual mushroom trade estimated at around 20 billion Nepali rupees. Nepal has begun the chemical fertilizer procurement process months ahead of the rice planting season in an effort to prevent chronic shortages that have affected farmers for years. Every year, farmers across Nepal face fertilizer shortages during the peak rice transplantation period from June to September, hurting crop yields and food security. To address the problem, the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development has started procurement early, saying the process of purchasing, importing and distributing fertilizer can take up to 7 months. For the current fiscal year, the government has invited bids to purchase 466,000 metric tons of chemical fertilizer. So far, 243,000 metric tons have been distributed, while more than 140,000 metric tons are either in stock or undergoing customs clearance. Looking ahead, Nepal has also initiated procurement for more than 300,000 metric tons of fertilizer for the next rice season. Fertilizer is sold to farmers at a 70% government subsidy. Now, new modern public toilets and mobile toilet units have begun operating in Kailali and Kanchanpur districts of Western Nepal with financial support from the government of Japan and coordinated by the Asian Development Bank (ADB). The project addresses a chronic lack of public sanitation facilities in urban market areas, a problem affecting shoppers, commuters, women, children, elderly people and persons with disabilities. Across Nepal, 15 permanent public toilets and 30 mobile toilet units have been constructed under the initiative. In Sudar Pashchim province, Kailali has received 2 permanent toilets and 3 mobile units, while Kanchanpur has 2 permanent toilets and 1 mobile unit. The facilities are designed to be disability-friendly and environmentally sustainable. Local authorities say the new infrastructure has significantly improved cleanliness in public spaces and during large gatherings, supporting efforts to maintain open defecation-free status and advance the region's Clean City initiative. Now, international news coming up next. For now, a short break. Bangladesh's first female prime minister and an arch-rival of ousted leader Sheikh Hasina, Khaleda Zia, has died from a prolonged illness at the age of 80. Zia intended to run for a third term as PM in February, when the country will vote for the first time since a popular revolution in late 2024 unseated Hasina. Thrust into the political limelight following the assassination of her husband, then President Ziaur Rahman, she went on to become Bangladesh's first female prime minister in 1991. Her career, which included spells in prison and house arrest, was defined by a bitter feud with Hasina. She was acquitted of corruption and allowed to travel to London for treatment only after Hasina lost power. Interim leader Muhammad Yunus offered his condolences for the passing of Zia, whom he described as a symbol of the democratic movement. U.S. President Donald Trump said he hoped to reach phase 2 of the Gaza peace plan very quickly, as he warned Hamas would have hell to pay if it did not disarm soon. Trump, whose 20-point peace plan requires the militant group to disarm, made the comments as he met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Florida for talks on Monday. During a press conference with Netanyahu after their meeting, Trump said Israel had lived up to the plan 100%, despite continuing attacks by its military in Gaza. The U.S. president also said his country could support another major strike on Iran were it to resume rebuilding its ballistic missile or nuclear weapons programs. Trump also said reconstruction in Gaza could begin pretty soon. The Gaza peace plan came into effect in October. Under the second phase, a technocratic government would be established in the devastated territory. Hamas would disarm and Israeli troops would withdraw. Now, a Saudi-led coalition said it targeted on Tuesday a large quantity of weapons and combat vehicles destined for separatist forces that were being offloaded from ships at a port in Yemen coming from the UAE. Yemen has been fighting a crippling war as armed factions loosely grouped under the government and backed by the UAE and Saudi Arabia turn on each other. The UAE-backed Southern Transitional Council, STC, which seeks to revive the formerly independent state of South Yemen, has in recent weeks swept through swaths of the country, expelling other government forces and their allies. The Saudi-led coalition warned on Saturday that it would back Yemen's government in any military confrontation with separatist forces and has urged them to withdraw peacefully from recently seized provinces. The coalition targeted 2 ships carrying a large quantity of weapons and combat vehicles to support the Southern Transitional Council forces. Now, the U.S. military said 2 people were killed in a strike on an alleged drug smuggling boat in the Eastern Pacific, raising the total fatalities in Washington's counter-narcotics operations in the region to at least 107. In a post on X, U.S. Southern Command said intelligence confirmed the vessel was traveling along known narcotics trafficking routes and was actively engaged in smuggling operations. The campaign targets transitional criminal organizations that use the Eastern Pacific to transport cocaine and other illicit drugs to North America. U.S. forces have carried out a series of maritime and aerial operations in coordination with regional partners to disrupt these smuggling networks. Officials say the operations are part of an ongoing effort to curb the flow of illegal drugs, though they have drawn scrutiny from human rights groups concerned about civilian casualties and the transparency of U.S. actions abroad. We'll take a short break here. We'll be right back. India's DRDO successfully tested 120-kilometer strike-range Pinaka rocket, marking a major milestone in indigenous rocket artillery program. The Defense Research and Development Organization on Monday successfully conducted the maiden flight test of the Pinaka long-range guided rocket, LRGR-120, at the Integrated Test Range in Chandipur. The rocket was tested for its maximum range of 120 kilometers, demonstrating all in-flight maneuvers as planned. The LRGR impacted on the target with textbook precision. Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said that the successful design and development of long-range guided rockets will boost the capabilities of armed forces, terming it as a game changer. Now, hundreds of worshippers gathered at Rio de Janeiro's Copacabana beach on Saturday to honor Iemanjá, the revered sea goddess in Afro-Brazilian religions. Participants dressed predominantly in white carried flowers, candles and other offerings in small boats, which they released into the Atlantic Ocean as part of an end-of-year ritual. The ceremony is a gesture of gratitude and devotion, blending African spiritual traditions with Brazilian culture. The celebration, which draws thousands of people annually, includes music, singing and drumming, creating a festive atmosphere along the beachfront. Local businesses and tourism operators see a boost from the ceremony, which has become both a religious and cultural attraction. The ritual reflects the resilience of Afro-Brazilian traditions and their integration into broader national identity. Moving on, heavy snowfall has blanketed Turkey's Soguksu region, transforming it into a striking winter landscape. Local authorities said the snowfall, while visually impressive, has disrupted travel on some rural roads and prompted warnings for drivers in the area. Tourism officials said the seasonal weather may boost visits as photographers and nature enthusiasts are drawn to the serene winter setting. Environmental experts noted that such snowfall supports local ecosystems, replenishing water sources and benefiting wildlife. The Sugux region, known for its forests and rivers, typically sees winter tourism increase after heavy snow, with visitors seeking to experience the region's natural landscapes in the seasonal peak. We'll go for another break here. Stay tuned. Departmental teams Nepal Police Club and Nepal APF Club have advanced to the semi-finals in the women's category of the ongoing 9th NVA Volleyball Championship. In today's match, Police defeated Nepal APF Club 3-2 to register their second consecutive win. Although APF lost one match in Group B, having won their previous two matches allowed them to qualify for the semi-finals despite today's defeat. With one match fewer played, both Police and APF have 6 points each. The match held at the National Sports Council's covered hall in Tripureshwar saw Police win with set scores of 25-21, 25-15, 22-25, 21-25 and 15-9. Meanwhile, in the men's category, APF and Khilji Youth Club have reached the quarter-finals. On the fifth day of the championship, APF secured their place in the last 8 by defeating Manimkunda Volleyball Club 3-0 in straight sets in the first match. In the final Group A match, APF beat Manimakund 25-10, 25-16 and 29-27. With this victory, APF advanced to the knockout stage as group runners-up. In today's second match, Khilji Youth Club registered their first win and qualified for the quarterfinals by defeating Dhorpatan Sports Club 3-0 with set scores of 25-15, 25-19 and 25-23. Help Nepal Sports Club had already secured a place in the quarterfinals earlier by winning both of their matches. The World Darts Championship at London's Alexandra Palace, popularly known as Ally Pally, is drawing thousands of fans each day, many travelling from darts-loving countries such as Germany and the Netherlands. The event has become known not just for the competition but also for its lively fan culture, with spectators donning elaborate costumes ranging from Super Mario to the Pope. Organizers say the mix of sport and spectacle has helped make the championship one of the highlights of the winter sporting calendar. The championship features top-ranked players competing in a knockout format, with matches broadcasted internationally. Security and health protocols are in place to manage the large crowds which swell each weekend. It is said the event's growing popularity has helped increase sponsorship and media coverage of professional darts globally. Japanese football legend Kazuyoshi Miura said his passion for playing the game was as strong as ever after signing for a third division team at the age of 58 on Tuesday. Miura, known as King Kazu, will join Japan's Fukushima United on loan until June for what will be his 41st season as a professional footballer. He will turn 59 in February. His move to Fukushima sees him return to the J-League, the top 3 divisions of Japanese football, for the first time in 5 years. He made his Japan debut in 1990 but was famously left out of the squad for the first World Cup finals appearance in 1998, despite scoring 55 goals in 89 games for the national side. Now, before we wrap up, let's take a look into the headlines once again. Gurung community of Nepal observed Tamul Lohsar today as the community's New Year. Observe a special program at Tudikal, Kathmandu. 64 parties submit closed list under proportional representation system for Nepal's upcoming election. Election Commission determines spending limits for candidates. Nepal's Prime Minister says the government is committed to building the nation based on the lessons from the past, addressing special program marking Tamul Lohsar. Bangladesh's first female Prime Minister Khaleda Zia passes away from prolonged illness at the age of 80. US President Donald Trump says he hopes to reach phase 2 of Gaza ceasefire very quickly after meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. And departmental teams Nepal Police and APF advances to the semi-finals in the women's category of the ongoing 9th NVA Volleyball Championship. That is all for NTV World Primetime News for now. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and visit us at www.nepaltelevision.com for more information and news. I am Ipulagi Singh Lama. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu, Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries.
Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal.
Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by.
Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
What if I told you a story of a place shrouded in mystery and steeped in stones? A place where warriors were born and raised, and their path through the mountains still remain to this day. Ajirkot Gorkha, the unbeaten kingdom.
हामी पाहुनाहरू आउनु हुँदाखेरि हामी यसरी स्वागत गर्छौं अनि अलि नाचगानहरू पनि देखाउँछौं।
गर्व लाग्छ जन्मिएछु साथै स्वर्गमा म त नेपालकी छोरी भन्छन् गोर्खाली। नाचहरू जस्तो घाटु चुड्काहरू भन्ने चाहिँ विशेष गरी हुन्छ यहाँ।
For those seeking a luxurious escape, there are stunning lodges that offer an indulgent retreat amidst the rugged beauty of this place. But for the true adventurers, this place has it all. From trekking through dense forest of Nage Pokhari trails to exploring ancient temples and learning the rich history of the region. So, what do you fancy? Are you the solo explorer, or do you prefer luxury within nature? Or perhaps you are the one who seeks to witness it all. Well, after all, life is a box of chocolates, and this place is filled with surprises. Welcome to the place where magic and reality intertwine, where the wonders of nature are both breathtaking and awe-inspiring. From the elevations of 300 meters to a towering 8,000 meters, this place will leave you mesmerized and in awe.
This is The World This Week, your weekly roundup of the latest international events and updates, and I am Bhavana Casey. In this edition, we bring you stories ranging from ongoing conflicts in Ukraine and Southeast Asia to rising global tensions, natural disasters, groundbreaking space missions, climate challenges, and festive celebrations from around the world. Let's start with Ukraine, where President Volodymyr Zelensky has outlined a revised US-backed 20-point peace plan. As per the plan, Ukrainian forces will pull back from the parts of eastern part of the country to create a demilitarized or free economic zone alongside strong security guarantees from the US, NATO and Europe. Russia is expected to respond after talks with Washington, though Moscow has demanded wider Ukrainian withdrawals and President Vladimir Putin has threatened to seize the entire east by force. Describing the plan as the main framework for ending the war, he said it proposed security guarantees from the US, NATO and Europeans for a coordinated military response if Russia invaded Ukraine again. On the key question of Ukraine's eastern Donbass, Zelensky said a free economic zone was a potential option. The 20-point plan is seen as an update of an original 28-point document agreed by US envoy Steve Witkoff with the Russians several weeks ago, which was widely seen as heavily geared towards the Kremlin's demands. Much of the updated plan resembles what came out of recent talks in Berlin involving US negotiators Witkoff and Jared Kushner with the Ukrainian and European leaders. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin is unlikely to be impressed by the kind of compromise being proposed for Donetsk. He said this month that Russia would take control of the entire east of Ukraine by force if Ukrainian troops did not pull out. However, Trump is pushing for a deal to end almost 4 years of full-scale war, and the Ukrainian president believes Russia cannot afford to reject the US plan. While global attention shifts from the unresolved war in Ukraine, Thailand and Cambodia have begun talks to resume a ceasefire following 16 days of deadly border clashes that killed at least 86 people. The discussions follow a special ASEAN-led meeting in Kuala Lumpur earlier this week aimed at salvaging a truce first brokered in July. In the run-up to Wednesday's talks, Thailand and Cambodia have continued clashing, with both sides fighting at multiple points since early December, stretching from forested regions near Laos to Thailand. The talks come 2 days after a special meeting in Kuala Lumpur, after Southeast Asian foreign ministers convened to try to salvage a truce first brokered by ASEAN chair Malaysia and United States President Donald Trump after a previous round of clashes in July. Thai Defense Ministry's spokesperson said Wednesday's meeting of the General Border Committee lasted 3 days and could pave the way for an agreement. The meeting is the most significant step since fighting re-erupted and follows separate unsuccessful efforts by Malaysia, China and the United States to bring the two countries to the table. Cambodia and Thailand have each other accused the other of aggression and violations of an enhanced ceasefire reached in October in Malaysia in Trump's presence, during which they committed to demining and withdrawing troops and heavy weapons from areas has been contested bitterly for decades. At least 21 civilians have been killed in Cambodia since the fighting and more than 500,000 people displaced. In Thailand, at least 65 people have lost their lives, with over 150,000 evacuated from their homes. Bangladesh is facing widespread unrest as protests erupted across the country following the death of a prominent political activist. Let's take a closer look at the situation in Bangladesh and what's driving these protests. Violence erupted across Bangladesh following the death of youth activist Sharif Osman Hadi, who was shot in Dhaka earlier this month. Demonstrations have turned deadly, with clashes between protesters and police, attacks on media offices and protests, leaving at least 86 people dead. Authorities have increased security, but violence continues to disrupt daily life in several major cities. It is said the unrest exposes deep political fractures ahead of Bangladesh's national elections in February 2026, highlighting public distrust of the interim government. The targeting of media outlets has raised concerns about press freedom, while the government's response is being closely watched by both domestic and international observers. International voices, including the UN Human Rights Chief, have urged restraint, emphasizing the need for thorough investigations and accountability. Meanwhile, civil society groups and cultural organizations have staged rallies calling for peaceful resolution and protection of democratic rights, underscoring that the protests are as much as about governance and civic freedoms as about the immediate catalyst. Our next story takes us to California, where the U.S. state is battling winter storms and is seeing floods, landslides, and heavy snow, forcing evacuations and shutting down roads. Forecasters have warned that it can be the wettest Christmas in years. The storm prompted California's Governor Gavin Newsom to declare a state of emergency for 6 counties, including Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, enabling the deployment of National Guard and emergency resources. Officials report widespread evacuations, road closures, and hazardous travel conditions, particularly in areas still recovering from last January's wildfires, where saturated swells increase the risk of mudslides and debris flows. The California Highway Patrol confirmed at least 1 death in the Sacramento County from an apparent weather-related crash, as rain-slicked roads contributed to dangerous driving conditions. Utilities report power outages affecting tens of thousands of residents, and emergency shelters have been opened for those displaced by flooding or landslides. Meteorologists say such storms are expected to become more frequent, highlighting the need for resilient infrastructure and emergency preparedness in the state. From the land to space now, India's space agency has successfully launched the LV-M3-M6 rocket carrying the US-built AST space mobile satellite into low Earth orbit. The mission marks the heaviest payload ever launched from Indian soil and represents a significant step in global satellite communications. The satellite is designed to provide global mobile connectivity from space, enabling communication even in remote areas. Officials say the successful launch highlights India's technological advancements and its expanding role in heavy lift and commercial space missions. India's National Space Agency, ISRO's chairperson, as Somnath says, this is the heaviest payload ever launched from Indian soil, adding this launch demonstrates India's growing capability in heavy lift missions.
This is the heaviest satellite ever lifted from Indian soil using a Indian launcher. This is also the third fully commercial mission of LVM-3, and the vehicle has demonstrated its excellent track record.
The launch comes amid a surge in global demand for satellite-based connectivity, emphasizing the strategic and commercial importance of India's space program. It is said that such launches enhance India's credibility in international space collaborations, opening doors for commercial partnerships with countries and private companies. From space exploration to climate challenges here on the Earth, as rising sea level has put Guinea-Bissau's Bezagos Islands and their ecosystems at risk. Scientists have already warned that the rising sea levels are gradually submerging low-lying areas, threatening homes, livelihoods, and the unique biodiversity of the islands. Locals in Guinea-Bissau are raising the alarm as the Bezagos Islands, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, faces severe coastal erosion. Residents report that rising sea levels and worsening erosion are threatening homes, infrastructure, and traditional livelihoods such as fishing and small-scale farming. Environmental experts warn that the climate change and unregulated coastal development are accelerating the island's vulnerability. The islands, known for its rich biodiversity and cultural heritage, could face damages if protective measures are not implemented on time. Authorities and conservation groups are under growing pressure to take urgent action to protect both the local population and the island's ecological significance. Communities are already adapting to the changes, but experts say without long-term planning and international support, the island's unique ecosystems and way of life are at serious risk. The situation highlights the broader impacts of climate change on low-lying island nations and the urgent need for global cooperation to mitigate rising sea levels. This is a story of courage and determination. A German woman engineer who uses a wheelchair has soared into space, marking a historic milestone for inclusion and celebrating human resilience. A German female engineer has become the first wheelchair user to blast into space, taking a brief ride on a Blue Origin flight. The space company owned by American multi-billionaire Jeff Bezos launched its new Safety suborbital mission at 8:15 a.m. from its site in Texas. Michaela Benthaus, an aerospace engineer at European Space Agency, was among the passengers to cross the Kármán line, the internationally recognized boundary of space, during the approximately 10-minute flight. Benthaus had suffered a spinal cord injury after a mountain biking accident and now uses a wheelchair. The small, fully automated rocket took off vertically, and the capsule carrying the tourists then detached in flight before gently descending back to the Texas desert, slowed by parachutes. It was the 16th crewed flight for Blue Origin, which has for years offered space tourism flights using its new Safety rocket. During Christmas celebrations, festivities spanned across Bethlehem to Rome to cities around the world, with millions gathered to mark the festive season with faith, joy, and tradition. For Pope Leo XVI, it is his first Christmas as the pontiff, making the occasion even more historic. In Bethlehem, the site believed to be the birthplace of Jesus Christ, thousands of pilgrims attended a midnight mass at the church. Streets were filled with processions, prayers, and festive decorations reflecting the city's deep spiritual significance. Across Italy and towns worldwide, communities marked the holiday with festive fairs, concerts, and charitable activities, blending religious observance with cultural traditions. In Rome, streets and plazas glowed with lights and bustling Christmas markets, while families enjoyed traditional meals, music, and seasonal performances. Before celebrating his first Christmas Eve Mass, Pope Leo XVI addressed the crowd, braving the wet weather. Pope's first Christmas Eve Mass highlighted both the faithful devotion of attendees and the Vatican's enduring role at the heart of global Christmas celebrations.
I admire and respect and thank you for your courage and your wanting to be here this evening.
Thousands of worshippers had gathered to join the pontiff for his festive and solemn occasion, which marks one of the most important events in the Catholic calendar. The Mass included traditional prayers, hymns, and blessings, emphasizing peace, hope, and goodwill for the holiday season, drawing attention from pilgrims and viewers around the world. Well, what a stunning portrayal of fun-filled fun event in China. And this brings us to the end of this episode of The World This Week. More than 2,000 people, including locals and tourists, participated in the opening ceremony. The event included ice hockey matches and special sports such as dragon boat races on ice and ball-carrying running races, where both the winter sports enthusiasts and audiences shared the joy of competing on ice and snow. A major indoor ski resort in Rongxian County of South China is offering a wide range of activities for people of different ages, including areas for kids to enjoy toy train rides and ice slides. Winter sports with local characteristics are creating fun for residents and tourists in China. While launching a series of activities integrating ice and snow sports with cultural tourism, Jixi City, Northeast China also opened its third winter games for residents. And this brings us to the end of this episode of The World This Week. We hope you enjoyed as much as we did bringing it to you. We shall see you again next time with a new episode. Do follow us on our website www.nepaltelevision.com and our social media handles as well as our YouTube channel. Till then, take care and bye-bye.
कसैले पनि अब व्हीलचेयरमै चाहिँ बन्जी गर्नुभएको छैन
अहिले चाहिँ आई एम भेरी एक्साइटेड
रमाइलो
यस 2 1 बन्जी
डिफ्रेन्ट आइडियाहरू हुन्छ हाम्रो जस्तै अब खुट्टामा लाएर नर्मली जम्प गर्नुपर्ने उहाँहरूले चाहिँ हामी बडीमा मात्रै लाएर जम्प गराउँछौँ
लेट्स गो
This is the story of Dilip Sapkota and Sisir Dahal, two wheelchair daredevils who challenged their physical limitations by jumping nearly 200 meters. They weren't just attempting a bungee jump, they were making history by attempting a bungee jump in their wheelchair. The location was the famous The Last Resort, offering adventurous thrill over Bhotekosi River in Sindhupalchok district of central Nepal. From the launch pad, a suspension bridge over the river, a free fall 160 meters down the gorge. This bridge had been the launch pad for the courageous and adventure seekers for years. But on this day, the jump was not just about adrenaline rush, but also about defiance, about breaking the barriers. Dilip, a fierce advocate for inclusive tourism, has spent years pushing boundaries, paragliding, ziplining, even bungee jumping without a chair.
म अपङ्गता भइसके पछाडी म आफूलाई कसरी रिफ्रेश बनाउने त म आफै चाहिँ कसरी ह्याप्पी हुन्छु भनेर आफैले आफैलाई बुझ्दाखेरि चाहिँ मैले घुम्दा ट्राभलहरू गर्दा एडभेन्चरहरू गर्दा अझ म बढी आफै खुसी भएको पाएँ अनि त्यस पछाडी चाहिँ मलाई मैले प्याराग्लाइडिङहरू गरेँ प्याराग्लाइडिङहरू गरिसके पछाडी बन्जी पनि गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने लाग्यो अनि मैले बन्जी गरेपछि होइन अब यो बन्जीलाई पनि एकचोटि व्हीलचेयरमा पनि बन्जी गर्नुपर्छ हैन नेपालमा म चाहिँ अपङ्गता भएका साथीहरूले चाहिँ एडभेन्चरकोमा चाहिँ अलि पछाडी देखिने उहाँहरू खासै त्यति धेरै एडभेन्चरहरू गर्नलाई त्यस्तो खेलहरू खेल्नलाई डराउने यस्तो हुन्छ उस्तो हुन्छ भन्ने उहाँहरूको चाहिँ मेन्टालिटी पनि थियो र त्यो मेन्टालिटीलाई पनि चिर्नुपर्छ मैले यो सकिन्छ हामीले पनि खेल्न सक्छौँ गर्न सक्छौँ र एउटा चाहिँ समावेशी पर्यटनलाई पनि यो एउटा वकालत पनि हुन्छ नेपाल सरकार लगायत सम्बन्धित निकायलाई यो वकालतको पनि एडभोकेसी पनि गर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने उद्देश्य राखेर मैले चाहिँ बन्जी गरेको
Sisir, an agricultural entrepreneur living with spinal paralysis, has turned his challenges into advocacy.
म अनेस्टली भन्नुपर्दा यो चाहिँ पुरै अनप्लान्ड नै हो हैन जति पनि मेरो लाइफमा म जति पनि एडभेन्चर अथवा उ गर्छु हैन त्यति धेरै प्लान गरेर चाहिँ गर्दिम भनेपछि गर्दिम भन्ने टाइपले चाहिँ यसको लागि चाहिँ म विशेष धन्यवाद हाम्रो दिलीप सरलाई म दिन चाहन्छु है उहाँले मलाई थाहा नै नदिकन ल आज जाम भनेर भन्नुभयो मैले आज भोलि हामी बन्जी जम्प गर्दैछौँ भनेर हिजो दोलालघाट आइपुगेपछि हामी काठमाडौँबाट हिँडेको मान्छे दोलालघाट आइपुगेपछि थाहा पाएको सो अब गरौँ न त आइसक्यो भनेर चाहिँ हैन एउटा अनुभव पनि हुन्छ लाइफमा हामी जस्तो अपाङ्गता भएको व्यक्तिले पनि गर्न सकिन्छ है भन्ने टाइपले हैन अनि त्यहाँबाट अरूलाई मोटिभेट गर्नलाई साथसाथै अब आफ्नो पनि एउटा रिफ्रेशमेन्टको लागि चाहिँ अब आज हामी बन्जी जम्प गर्न जाँदैछौँ.
Together, the goal was clear: to inspire thousands and redefine what people with disabilities can achieve. A wheelchair bungee jump was no ordinary feat. It demanded innovation, precision, and absolute commitment. The team designed a secure rigging system, checked every bolt and knot, ensuring the wheelchairs and harnesses could withstand the extreme forces.
सेटअप अब खासै त्यस्तो डिफरेन्ट त होइन उहाँहरूको अब स्पेसल अलिकति समस्या भएर त्यो अनुसारको सेफ तरिकाले गर्ने अर्को डिफरेन्ट आइडियाहरू हुन्छ हाम्रो जस्तै अब खुट्टामा लाएर नर्मली जम्प गर्नुपर्ने उहाँले चाहिँ हामी बडीमा मात्रै लाएर जम्प गराउँछौँ सो खुट्टामा चाहिँ केही पनि प्रेसर पर्दैन ढाडमा पनि कम प्रेसर पर्छ सो त्यसरी गर्दा चाहिँ उहाँलाई एकदम कम्फर्टेबल हुन्छ अनि प्लस अब उहाँले अब तल गएर तान्नुपर्ने हुक गर्नुपर्ने कुराहरू हुन्छ सकेसम्म उहाँहरूले ट्राई गर्नु भएन भने हामी एकजना रेस्क्यु स्ट्यान्ड बाई हुन्छ अनि त्यसको लागि चाहिँ हामी अलिक प्रिपेयर गरेर गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ अब सेफ्टीको हिसाबले अलिकति डिफ्रेन्ट तरिका चाहिँ अपनाउनु पर्यो हामीले.
This was not a stunt. It was proof that adventure can be made accessible.
34औं अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय अपाङ्गता दिवस हो. सो यो अपाङ्गता दिवसकै दिनमा चाहिँ के एउटा चाहिँ एडभेन्चर गरौँ हैन अब कसैले पनि अब व्हीलचेयरमै चाहिँ बन्जी गर्नुभएको छैन त्यसको लागि पनि एउटा चाहिँ पहिलोचोटि गर्दै हेर अरू साथीहरूलाई पनि एउटा चाहिँ इन्करेज गरौँ भन्ने चाहना हो खास.
At the edge of the platform, silence fell. Dilip rolled forward first. The count began.
Happy International Disability Day, all of you.
A symbol of confinement transformed into a vessel of freedom, probably the first ever wheelchair bungee jump in Nepal.
Promax bungee! खासै अहिले चाहिँ पुरा म नर्मल चाहिँ एकदम चिलमा छु हैन अब यहाँ हामफाल्दाखेरि चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ म हामफालिसकेपछि चाहिँ अनुभव सुनाउँछु अहिले चाहिँ आई एम भेरी एक्साइटेड आई एम गोइङ टु डु समथिङ फर माइसेल्फ हैन आई एम गोइङ टु डु माई फर्स्ट बन्जी अफ माई लाइफ सो आई एम भेरी एक्साइटेड.
Then came Sisir's turn. With equal determination, he embraced the drop.
Well, let's go.
His leap cemented the moment, not a solo feat, but a shared victory.
रमाइलो यस उहाँले आर यु रेडी भन्नुभयो मैले ठिक छ म रेडी भने मैले आँखा चिम्म गरिदिएँ अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ ठ्याक्कै उहाँले 1 2 3 जम्प भन्नुभयो उहाँले पुस गरिदिनु भयो मलाई म पुस गरेको आँखा चिम्मको चिम्म तल पुगेपछि ठ्याक्क त्यो डोरीले तान्छ नि तानेर माथि आएपछि त्यो समय चाहिँ मैले यस्तो फिल गरेँ कि म बाँचेँ हैन मसँग अब चाहिँ सबै चिजहरू मसँग फेरि पनि छ र मलाई चाहिँ एकदमै आनन्द त्यो टाइमको त्यो 2 सेकेन्ड 3 सेकेन्डको एउटा चाहिँ ह्याप्पिनेस एउटा त्यो रिफ्रेस एउटा त्यो फिलले चाहिँ एकदमै ह्याप्पी दियो क्या मलाई इनर्जी भित्रदेखि मसँग भइरहेको सिद्धिरहेको एउटा चाहिँ इनर्जीलाई ठ्याक्क दियो त्यो झर्दाखेरिको चाहिँ मेरो माइन्ड पुरै रिसेट भइदियो जस्तो भयो क्या केही पनि छैन म एकदमै निलो एकदम निल मसँग केही पनि छैन रित्तियो सकियो मैले सबै चिज छोडिदिएर म झरिसकेको थिएँ हाम फालिसकेको थिएँ तर पुगेर ठ्याक्क तानेर ल्याउँदाखेरि चाहिँ त्यो एउटा मुभमेन्ट चाहिँ मेरो लाइफको चाहिँ एकदम इन्जोयफुल मुभमेन्ट हो जसले चाहिँ मलाई चाहिँ आजको दिनसम्म अझ धेरै उत्प्रेरणाहरू जगाएको एउटा मुभमेन्ट हो त्यो मुभमेन्ट चाहिँ मेरो लागि एकदम मेमोरियल पनि छ
Dilip and Sisir's jump was more than a thrill. It was a loud scream demanding change, a call for accessible tourism.
एक्सेसिबिलिटीकै कुराहरू हुन्छ क्या हजुरको जस्तो अब मैले पोखरामा प्याराग्लाइडिङ गर्दाखेरि कायाकिङ गर्दाखेरि हैन अप्पर मुस्ताङ चाहिँ हजुरको चाहिँ त्यो अफ रोड गाडीमै जाँदाखेरिको कुराहरूमा चाहिँ अलिकति एक्सेसिबल अलिकति हामीलाई चाहिँ पहुँचयुक्त चाहिँ ठाउँहरू भएदेखि अलिकति सजिलो हुन्थ्यो भनौँ न अब यो झोलुङ्गे पुलहरूबाट गरिन्छ हैन त्यहाँ चाहिँ हल्का र्याम्प के जस्तो व्हिलचेयरकै लागि पनि एउटा स्ट्र्याप राख्दाखेरि त काठको एउटा भनौँ न त्यो फ्लोरिङ जस्तै टाइपले गरिदियो भने त हेल्प गर्ने असिस्ट गर्नेलाई पनि सजिलो हुने अनि हामीलाई पनि सजिलो हुने चाहिँ हुन्छ
Educate a woman and you educate a society. This popular phrase is well-intentioned, but the framing also subtly treats women's education as a derivative matter and valuable only for what it produces for others, families, economies, and nations, rather than as a right in itself. To add to this treatment, around the world, women's access to higher education continues to remain deeply unequal, especially in times of crisis. Conflict, displacement, political upheaval, and economic shocks do not just interrupt education, they disproportionately push women out of it, often permanently. Today's episode of Insight will be about examining what women's higher education means in a world shaped by instability and what policy choices make access possible or impossible. Our guest for today, Kamal Ahmed, is the founder, president and CEO of the Asian University for Women, an institution that works at the intersection of education, displacement and gender justice. Kamal, welcome to NTV World Insight.
Thank you, Sarah.
You are in Kathmandu right now for a very short period of time. What brings you here?
We are about to launch a campaign in Nepal to get the word out about the Asian University for Women and to invite smart, talented, brave, young Nepali women to take the journey, educational journey with us at the Asian University for Women.
Mm-hmm. Why Asian University for Women?
There are so many reasons for why Asian University for Women. I think the Asian is function of geography. We happen to be located in Bangladesh, which is part of Asian region. But as I mentioned earlier, the notion of a university is universal. If somebody from Africa were to apply, it's not like we would say, no, you can't apply, you're out of the region. In fact, we have graduated a student from Senegal. And we are hoping that in the future we will have more students from Latin America, from Africa. We have a student from Japan as we speak, and so on. The Women's University, of course, needs more explanation. We think there has been a systematic neglect of high quality women's education. And there is evidence that when women come together in a setting of their own, they're more likely to succeed. They're more likely to go into fields that are often not chosen by women. For instance, it is evident that students who go to women's colleges and universities tend to go more towards sciences and engineering. That's something we want to foster. We have a summer school where we invite high school students to come for the summer for a math and science camp, so that those talents are nurtured earlier on. So we think a women's university has a special place in the universe of universities and higher education as a platform for women to know they are equal, they have talents like everybody else, and there is a supportive community that says nothing will inhibit you, nothing will prohibit you from actualizing your full potential.
UNESCO estimates that girls in crisis are 2.5 times more likely to be out of education compared to boys. What do you think most directly, because you also work with women who've been displaced because of crisis, what do you think most directly pushes women out of higher education during these circumstances?
Well, there are probably a litany of reasons why girls and women get pushed out of the educational system before they get to higher education. One of the more crucial ones is early marriage. You know, in societies where girls get married so young, the question of higher education does not even arise. When families are at a stress, economically or socially or politically, the first ones to sacrifice often are girls. You say, okay, we'll educate the boy. Maybe the boy will bring something back. Whereas the girls in our societies are still, by and large, thought of as more of a burden. So they're easily sacrificed. Their education is cut off. So those are some of the things. But also, I think you have to remember, it's not easy for girls, even in the best of circumstances, to access education in an environment where there are hazards of sexual harassment on the way to school, in school. So there are all sorts of pressures on girls to drop out of school early.
Why Asian University for women?
There are so many reasons for why Asian University for women. I think the Asian is function of geography. We happen to be located in Bangladesh, which is part of Asian region. But as I mentioned earlier, the notion of a university is universal. If somebody from Africa were to apply, it's not like we would say, no, you can't apply, you're out of the region. In fact, we have graduated a student from Senegal. And we are hoping that in the future we will have more students from Latin America, from Africa. We have a student from Japan as we speak, and so on. The Women's University, of course, needs more explanation. We think there has been a systematic neglect of high quality women's education. And there is evidence that when women come together in a setting of their own, they're more likely to succeed. They're more likely to go into fields that are often not chosen by women. For instance, it is evident that students who go to women's colleges and universities tend to go more towards sciences and engineering. That's something we want to foster. We have a summer school where we invite high school students to come for the summer for a math and science camp, so that those talents are nurtured earlier on. So we think a women's university has a special place in the universe of universities and higher education as a platform for women to know they are equal, they have talents like everybody else, and there is a supportive community that says nothing will inhibit you, nothing will prohibit you from actualizing your full potential.
Mm-hmm. UNHCR's latest figures say that only 3% of refugees enrolled in higher education globally, compared with much higher enrollment at primary and secondary levels. Your university hosts a lot of Afghan women and single largest group of Rohingya women as well. What do you think are the practical barriers that you had to overcome to make it possible? And which of these barriers do you think could governments realistically address through policy reforms?
So, you know, the refugee crisis around the world is obviously a function of government policy. Some governments decide that certain people will no longer be allowed to stay within their countries. So I think at the root of the problem is really government action against certain groups that generate the refugee crisis, and that's at the root of everything, of all of these problems. But having said that, of course, there are things that governments, communities, and organizations can do to help ameliorate the situation. In Afghanistan today, girls are not allowed to go to school beyond 6th grade. This is obviously a policy that doesn't help with the educational advancement of girls and women. The Rohingya women who are in Bangladesh, you know, it's very difficult to provide a decent education in a camp where you're not recognized as an equal, where your dignity is not really offered. So even in the best of circumstances, the education they end up getting is subpar. So I think one of the fundamental things that we have to do is to recognize the equality of people. It is from that recognition of equality, everything else I think that we desire as a society that is humane, that is recognizes talent is among everybody, will come forth.
Mm-hmm. Many displaced populations have severe restricted access to formal education even in host countries, right? What has your experience of educating these women been like so far?
We have had an exhilarating experience with the communities of women, not just from Afghanistan, which we have about 600 women, or Rohingya, who are about 400, but also Syrians, people from Yemen. You know, of all groups, I think the refugee or migrant populations have an acute sense that education is their only instrument. They have nothing else to inherit. So if they can prove themselves through their merit through education, they have possibly a path ahead. And there is perhaps no greater reminder to us of this possibility than to see this year's Nobel Prize winners. One of the Nobel Prize winners in chemistry, for example, he grew up in a refugee camp in Jordan. And as he said, it was his father's insistence that education will be the only path through which he could come out of that kind of a predicament that allowed him to come to the stage where he is now a Nobel Prize winner.
Mm-hmm. Now, in humanitarian settings, most funding goes to primary education, while higher education receives less than 3% of global education in emergencies funding. Based on your university's outcomes, how would you argue that higher education for displaced women should be treated as a core humanitarian investment rather than a long-term aspiration?
I think we have to recognize the imperatives of both, the imperatives of humanitarian action immediately and the long-term prospects of solutions to these problems. Of course, without primary education, one cannot aspire for secondary or higher education. One of the challenges have been people have looked at the system in segmented ways. You cannot imagine a secondary or a primary education system functioning effectively unless there is a higher education system that is robust. Where will the teachers come from? Who will develop the curriculum? Who will support the organization of schools and colleges? But I think one thing that has been under-recognized is the power of higher education in germinating and cultivating leadership. Ultimate solution of a lot of the crises we see today will spring from the leadership of these communities. If you don't have an educated leadership, it is hard to imagine how they will come out of the predicaments they're in. So I don't think it's one or the other. We have to do both. I think it is imperative that we do not think of higher education as something that can be spared, because if we don't invest in higher education, these communities will continue to be voiceless. Others will have to speak for them, and that is never a good thing.
You spoke about leadership. Over the course of time, in recent years especially, the number of enrollment of women in higher education has increased. It's more than 50% of the total enrollment. But when we talk about women in leadership position or researchers or academic leaderships, it's only around about 30%. Where do you see the gap, and what are we not doing or not doing right?
Well, there are many challenges. Education, of course, is the first step. But that is not in itself sufficient. For example, if you look at medical graduates in South Asia, actually quite a large percentage of medical graduates are women. But when it comes to practice of medicine, the number dramatically diminishes. Why? Quite often, these women post-graduation are married, and there are societal pressures on them being in public life and being practiced, that even though they could have been the best doctors, they've stayed home to take care of families or children or what have you. There are also, in certain places, laws that permit women to get an education. But let's say you've become a lawyer, you can't practice, because there are still discriminations in the employment field by statute, by law. And in other places, there are also, organizational inhibitions to promoting women. And it's not just a developing country phenomenon, it's a phenomenon around the world. It's changing, fortunately, but we still have long ways to go before equality can be achieved. But I repeat, education has to be the first step. If you don't educate, then you will never get to a parity. If it's only when you have educated, then you can seek a parity in the professions, in leadership, in further advancement of women.
I think I remember reading a story about an Afghan woman. After the Taliban takeover, she used to work in Ministry of Finance and held a master's degree, but had to quit and take all sorts of jobs to make a living. So how do you see the international community coming together to deal with scenarios like these? Because it does not seem to be, the lives of the women in there does not seem to be changing for good.
There are a lot of places, Afghanistan is not the only one, where state policies actively discourage equality of women, aspirations of women. And the net result, I think, is widely recognized, that they're disabling the entire societies. If all of the society are not allowed to develop, to contribute to one's economic development, social development, intellectual development, you can never optimize on the full potential of the human population that you have. So I think it's short-sighted, it's inhumane to say half of your population will not be able to get the same opportunities that the other half seems to be entitled to. And in effect, it retards possibilities for the whole society.
The Asian University of Women recruits many students from underprivileged and conflict-affected backgrounds. In systems that focus mainly on test scores, the traditional method, do you think there's a way for governments to create fair admissions policies without causing backlash or lowering standards?
I think one has to understand what standards are. You know, in the old Greek times, allegedly, Plato's Academy said that if you don't know geometry, don't enter this academy.
Mm-hmm.
We have taken a different approach. We have said everybody has talents. And if they have not had a great secondary education, maybe they will not know geometry. But it is not very complicated to teach arithmetic or geometry. So the Asian University for Women has taken an approach which says we will be very flexible at entrance, but we will have no flexibility at exit.
Mm-hmm.
What do I mean by that? We mean that somebody coming from a poor, let's say in the Terai community in Nepal,
mm-hmm.
or in the western region, they will not have the same schools as many of the more prominent schools in Kathmandu have. They will not have the same academic standards. But that doesn't mean they don't have the potential to learn. So what we say is, if you have certain qualities, if you're motivated, if you have leadership potential, if you have courage, we welcome you. And we will give you extra years to catch up in English, catch up in math, and catch up in computers. And that seems to work. The other thing I would say is, you know, we look at standards in a very narrow way. There is a lot of research that shows that intelligence appears in many forms.
Mm-hmm.
We seem to choose only a very narrow set of those metrics. When you expand them, you discover a whole new world of measuring people's potential. And I think we have to broaden it. What we are interested in is leadership. And it turns out, yes, academics are very important, but personal qualities are also very important. And I think if governments, societies want to develop where leadership is recognized early and cultivated, then they have to move to a better way of assessing young people, recognizing for what they have, what they can contribute, and move away from this narrow, you know, so-called objective set of metrics.
Now, many governments focus on short-term job training, but your university uses a liberal arts model, as you just explained. Is this approach better in preparing displaced or marginalized women for unstable job markets, civic life, and, as you mentioned, leadership?
I think, Sarah, you have to recognize that, you know, it's no one thing that will have answers for everything. So in a society, you need multiple aptitudes and skill sets. I'm not going to say that you don't need plumbers and other sort of vocationally trained people. They're very important in sustaining our communities. But you also need people with a liberal arts and science training who can provide a different type of vision for the society. And I would also say that just because somebody is trained in vocational training, liberal arts should not even be eliminated from that scheme. There is a misjudgment about people that I think springs largely from our classist view of things, of people. It is often said that if you're poor, if you don't have enough resources, you should go into a vocational school, become a plumber, or do something that uses your hands and not your mind. I think that is fundamentally a misjudgment. We must recognize whether you're poor or rich, whether you're from the rural areas, from faraway places or nearby places in the middle of a city, talent is equally distributed. And we must be able to recognize them and give them the opportunity to flourish. And if you do that, it is possible that somebody from very meager background will be the best thinkers, will be the best leaders. And our society should not prejudge that potential. Because if we prejudge, we run the risk of missing out on the most talented.
Now, which elements of AUW would you say are actually replicable at a larger scale, and which fail primarily due to lack of political will, maybe, rather than lack of resources?
I think the fundamental aspect is really to remove the aspirational barriers of, in our case, girls and young women. Quite often, if you're an adolescent girl in our part of the region, of the world, you're frequently told that you cannot be anything. You can't, in fact, you're told you can be, this is it. You should get married and have children, and that's your life. You were predestined to be that way. I think what is urgently needed is to reverse this. Girls and young women, when they're young, must be told, must be encouraged that anything they want to do is possible. Because if they are not given the view that they can achieve something, they will never achieve it. So I think one of the more important things that governments and societies as a whole can do is to be more encouraging of young people, of young women and girls, that the possibilities are endless. They have all the potential to succeed. When I go to visit schools, I say it doesn't matter whether you have shoes or no shoes. If you have courage and the intellectual wherewithal, you can be anything. And I think that's what's needed. Because if you guide them, if you inspire them, if you encourage them in such ways, they will, in fact, fulfill those visions.
You are one of the founders of AUW. Throughout these many years, you've seen many women, many girls graduate and turn out to be leaders in their own places and in their own fields. What makes you very happy? Are there cases that makes you very proud?
There are so many instances where, which have, pride is probably not a word I would choose, that make you feel comforted that these years of labor have actually not been in vain. So, I'll give you a couple of examples. We have a project in the Rohingya camps where our graduates are training 1,100 Rohingya primary school teachers. Who are the ones who is doing this training? These are our Afghan graduates. They have moved to Cox's Bazar, lock, stock, and barrel, set up their own offices. They've set up their curriculum, their lesson plans, and they're largely teaching these 1,100 male teachers from the Rohingya refugee camps. And it's been astounding for me to see how successful, how worthwhile this endeavor has been. UNICEF is sponsoring this project. They have told me that this is one of the best training they have seen. As an organized activity, we have a large program of educating garment factory workers. On Fridays, when the factories are closed, we go to the factory and tell the workers that please take this admissions test. Because again, if you don't take this test, you will never know. And maybe out of thousands of young women who take these tests, about 100 or 200 get in. But many of these young women who were previously working on the shop floors of factories have become bankers, Some are even contemplating starting their own factories. So you see education not only as an instrument of changing perspectives, but also empowering them in such a way that they can alter everybody else's perception of what is possible.
Mm-hmm. For women that are watching this interview right now, for those who are interested in enrolling or exploring opportunities at AUW, how can they approach AUW and what kind of opportunities can they expect to access?
Great question. AUW is an international university based in Chittagong, Bangladesh. We offer an undergraduate program in the liberal arts and sciences across many disciplines, and a limited set of graduate programs in professions like education or management and so forth. By definition, a university is open to everybody. Mm-hmm. So we have students from 22 different countries. We have 90% of our students are on full scholarship, where every cost, even international travel, their costs of room, board, tuition, books, computers are covered by the institution. We are looking for the brightest young women we can find anywhere. So I hope from the great schools like St. Xavier's or St. Mary's in Kathmandu to schools in the Terai region in western Nepal, young women who want an education, they will consider coming to AUW. What we can promise them is that we will do our best to provide the best education they can get.
What about the age bracket for women that are interested to apply, and if there are any men who are also interested to apply?
The age bracket is between 17 and 23 for women who want to apply for admission into the university. For men, I'm afraid we do not admit men. Men are welcome to apply to come join the faculty or administration, because our faculty and administration are international. They come from all over the world, and both men and women partake in the learning and teaching in the community. So we are a women's university. The only students on campus are really women.
Mm-hmm. This is interesting. Have you had any of your own graduate students as faculty members?
You know, we have just appointed a young woman, Nazifa is her name. She graduated from the Asian University for Women and obtained her PhD with lots of laurels from Cambridge University. And we've invited her back to become a member of our faculty. And there are others who work as teaching staff, not at the undergraduate faculty level. Of the 2,000 or so graduates we have had, nearly 50% have completed graduate degrees at the master's level, and almost 80 graduates are pursuing or have completed PhDs. So we see a full circle of our graduates going on to some of the best universities in the world for their graduate work and returning to AUW to teach and germinate yet another generation of talented students from all over the world.
Kamal Ahmed, thank you so much for being on NTV World Insight.
Thank you for having me.
Well, what we can sum up from today's interview is that women's higher education does not fail by accident. It fails by design, by neglect or political choice as well. As crises are becoming more frequent, the question is no longer whether we can afford to invest in women's higher education, but whether we can afford not to. Institutions may innovate, but lasting change requires policy commitment by governments, donors, and global systems to protect women's rights to lead, learn, and shape the future. Our discourse on making this world a just place will continue here on Insight. Until next time.
Welcome to the Hinterlands. This weekly show weaves together stories from the hinterlands of Nepal. As said, this takes you beyond the cities and highways into the heart of Nepal's survival landscapes. Nepal is more than a postcard of monuments and mountains. It's a country alive with stories, laughter, ideas, and everyday magic. Step beyond the busy cities and familiar highways, and you will find a different rhythm of life. One shaped by close-knit communities, open fields, shared dreams, and quiet determination. So, let us get on board this journey into Nepal's rural landscapes, where life is not about headlines, but about people. Here, challenges exist, yes, but so do creativity. I'm Rosina Rai, and you'll be leading you into this journey every week. When we talk about Nepal, we often picture mountains, temples, or busy cities. But today, let's take you somewhere different, somewhere warm, vibrant, and full of rhythm, to the far western plains of Nepal, to Kanchanpur. Kanchanpur is a living cultural crossroads. This is a place where traditions does not sit quietly in history books. They echo in magic and show up proudly in everyday life. And nothing captures this spirit better than the Bhua festival. Let us walk you through Bhua. Across the hills of Nepal's far western region, the Bhua festival or Bhua Parva is celebrated with great enthusiasm. The festival is a joyous reminder of the triumph of good over evil. The streets of Kailali and Kanchanpur, along with the bustling towns of Thangari and Mahendranagar, come alive with the spirit of this age-old tradition. Falling on the lunar new moon day of the Nepali month of Pous, usually in December, the festival continues for nearly a week. The festivities unite communities in pride, joy, and shared cultural identity, while the elderly stress the cultural heritage, strengthens social bonds, promotes harmony within communities. The youths find it amusing to be a part of also.
त्यो एकता पनि हो कवाज खेलाइ हो यो आर्मीको कवाज खेलाइ भनेपछि अनुशासन पनि हेर्नु भयो एक्लै बुढो जान्न पाइएन भयो तब एकताको लागि धर्मको लागि हाम्रो समाजको लागि ठूलो महत्त्व पुगेको छ यसले भाइचारा सद्भाव बढाउँदो छ.
Originating from the mountainous districts of Bajura, Bajhang and Acham, the festival gradually spread to the Tarai plains, carried by families who migrated southward. Men don white robes and turbans, wielding swords and shields as they perform the Bhua dance, energetically reenacting heroic battle scenes with devotion. The rhythmic beat of the Panche Baja, a set of 5 traditional musical instruments, accompany these mesmerizing performances. In every step, every beat, and every cheer, the spirit of courage and tradition is vividly alive. Cultural experts note that the Bhua tradition commemorates the timeless tale of bravery and rightness of the Pandavas over the Kauravas in the epic Mahabharata. Consequently, the festival is primarily observed in areas historically believed to have been visited or marked by the Pandavas. Local residents say such cultural festivities foster unity, collective participation, while both local and provincial governments continue to support initiatives that preserve and promote Nepal's indigenous traditions. Imagine living in your own country, yet feeling like you are on the edge of the world. That's the reality for the 45,000 residents of Dodhara Chandani in far western Nepal, nestled precariously between 2 mighty rivers and bordered by India. These unique settlements, battles, devastating floods, soil erosion, and a chronic lack of basic services like health care, education, and clean drinking water. For the people here, survival is a year-round struggle against both nature and neglect. How does it feel living in a country but outside the boundaries? Ask the people of Dodhara Chandani municipality in far western Nepal. Known as the longest iconic suspension bridge in Nepal, the Dodhara Chandani bridge, the place remains isolated and neglected due to limited state attention. Geographically isolated from the mainland, this area is situated at the far western edge of Nepal, bordering India, prone to flooding, inundation, erosion during monsoon season, and border encroachment. The Mahakali River is the sorrow for the people here.
लगाएको खेतीबाली पनि हैला लगिदिन्छ सबभन्दा ठुलो बन्दा बान्दिए त झन् खुसी नै हुन्थ्यौं.
Basic state rendered services including healthcare, education, and clean drinking water are luxury here. For long, leader remember the around 40,000 residents of the place during election making promises for the same thing almost every time. A permanent embankment along the Mahakali River has been their demand for long, but the issue is something that the country needs to make diplomatic effort with India to pursue. Strangled on three sides by the Mahakali and Jogbura rivers, the people here struggle to survive every monsoon. Hundreds of families have displaced owing to flooding and river erosion in the most remote and vulnerable settlements: Kutia Cover, Pila number 18 settlement, Sundarnagar, and Patarakhala. Local Mayor Kishore Limbu says the municipality alone cannot bear the financial burden, but both provincial and federal government must prioritize embankment construction. Palpa is taking a decisive stand for safer motherhood. In this hilly district of Nepal, a bold push called the Zero Home Childbirth is changing now how babies are born by ensuring every delivery happens in a health facility, with home births carrying serious risk due to the absence of skilled care and emergency support. Local governments and communities are stepping up together to make institutional delivery the new standard. The impact is already visible. 7 of Palpa's 10 local levels are now fully compliant, while the 3 remaining are racing to get there. In Nepal, continue to pose a serious risk, largely due to the absence of skilled birth attendants and limited access to emergency medical care. Health professionals strongly urge expectant mothers to deliver in health facilities where timely medical support can ensure the safety of both mother and newborn. This remains critical as a majority of maternal deaths in Nepal still occur at home. Against this backdrop, Palpa district in Nepal's hilly region has launched a Zero Home Childbirth campaign aiming to ensure that all deliveries take place under the supervision of trained medical professionals in health facilities. The initiative seeks to completely eliminate home childbirth and achieve full compliance with institutional delivery standards. Encouragingly, 7 out of Palpa's 10 local levels have already achieved 100% institutional childbirth status, while the remaining 3 are actively preparing to meet the required benchmark.
नेपालमै सम्भवतः होम डेलिभरी 0 भएको जिल्ला पाल्पा भएको छ. गत वर्षसम्म चाहिँ 14 टा होम डेलिभरी भएको थियो भने यो वर्ष हामीले 0 बनाउन सफल भएका छौं.
According to the district health office, the campaign has intensified efforts to discourage home birth and promote safe deliveries through health facilities. The program is being implemented in close coordination with health institutions, medical workers, female community health volunteers, and other key stakeholders across the district. These local efforts align with national progress in maternal health. A 2025 United Nations report shows that Nepal's maternal mortality ratio has declined by nearly 70% since 2000, with the current figure standing at 140 deaths per 100,000 live births, a significant achievement of the country. Building on this momentum, Palpa is now in the final stage of being declared the first fully institutional childbirth district in Lumbini province of the country within the current fiscal year. Alongside the campaign, authorities are also working to reduce early marriage in teenage pregnancy, key factors that, if addressed effectively, could accelerate Nepal's journey toward zero maternal mortality. In southern Nepal, part of a major migratory route connecting Central Asia and the Indian subcontinent, Conservationists are stepping up efforts to protect waterbirds amid growing threats from habitat loss and climate pressures. A waterbird census has been launched to track the health of both migratory and native bird populations. The count is focused along the Rapti River and surrounding wetlands. Critical stopover sites for birds traveling thousands of kilometers each year. Conservationists in Nepal have identified several emerging threats to migratory birds across the country's southern region. The migratory birds coming from countries such as Siberia, China, Myanmar, Mongolia, Russia, Korea and Thailand are threatened largely by humans. To better understand this crisis, Dang district in south has initiated its annual scientific census of waterbirds. Dang serves as an important wintering site for both native and migratory birds arriving from various regions, including the Arctic region. Species such as geese, gulls, and other water-dependent birds are commonly recorded during the winter season. The census aims to document the number of birds, species diversity, and habitat status in Nepal's rivers, lake, ponds, and wetland ecosystems, with a specific focus on Dang. Conducted under Bird Conservation Nepal (BCN), the survey is part of the country's nationwide annual waterbird monitoring program.
कुन प्रजातिका चराहरू आउँछन् र कस्तो कस्तो चराको जोखिम के छ त्यो पहिचान गर्नका लागि हामीले यो जाडो सिजनमा हामी चराहरूको चाहिँ तथ्याङ्क सर्वे गर्दैछौँ.
The data collected is expected to inform national conservation planning and wetland management efforts. The 2024 Asian Waterbird Census, AWC in Nepal identified positive signs with more than 53 species recorded. However, migratory birds continue to face threats such as habitat loss, pollution, human disturbance, hunting, and climate change. Nepal is home to over 200 native bird species that depend on wetlands and water bodies, of which around 100 are migratory. And that commitment to conservation is already showing results elsewhere in Nepal. In Chitwan National Park, home to some of South Asia's most fragile ecosystems, the population of the endangered gharial crocodile has increased by 366 individuals, found mainly along the Rapti River and Narayani River. This rise reflects decades of sustained protection, habitat restoration, and careful monitoring. Proof that when ecosystems are protected, nature can and does bounce back. The population of the rare and endangered gharial crocodile is on the rise in Nepal's first national park, Chitwan National Park, particularly in the Rapti and the Narayani rivers. According to a monitoring and census conducted on 7th to 9th December 2025 by the Chitwan National Park Office, a total of 366 gharials were evidently seen in these two major rivers. The park's information officer reported that 231 gharials were spotted in the Rapti River and 135 in the Narayani River. This marks an increase of 14 individuals compared to last year's total of 352. The census also revealed a rise in the number of male gharials, with 9 males recorded in total, 7 in the Rapti and 2 in the Narayani, highlighting a positive trend in population. The increase in the gharial population is attributed on ongoing conservation efforts. Since 1978 Bikram Sambat, the park has operated a dedicated gharial breeding center in Kasara, Chitwan. The center collects eggs, raises hatchlings, and releases them into rivers across the country, including the Rapti and the Narayani, contributing directly to the species recovery and long-term conservation. Interestingly, during the census, a dolphin was also seen at the confluence of the two rivers, taken as an encouraging indicator of overall diversity. Chitwan National Park, a premier wildlife observation site, is also renowned for its Royal Bengal tigers, one-horned rhinos, and diverse area bird species. The park offers jungle safaris, bird watching, and observation towers, making it a prime destination for nature enthusiasts and conservationists alike, with its rich Tarai ecosystem as a backup. Finally, we turn to agriculture and trade. Nepal, the world's leading producer of large cardamom, is seeing renewed growth as prices rise. In Bhojpur, farmers are expanding operations after farm gate prices reached 25,000 rupees per kilogram. With nearly 68% of global supply, cardamom remains a key export, now offering stronger returns after years of price swings. Nepal is the global leader in the production of large cardamom, also known as black cardamom, contributing more than 50%, almost around 68% of the global sales. The country is a major exporter primarily to India, which re-exports the spice to international markets. Despite the challenges such as price volatility and plant diseases, the sector remains highly profitable and contributes significantly to Nepal's foreign exchange earnings. With the black cardamom continuing to command strong market price, farmers in Bhojpur district of Eastern Nepal have grown increasingly optimistic. Black cardamom cultivation is deeply rooted in the cultural heritage and economy of Eastern Nepal. Consistent price increase in recent years has encouraged more farmers to invest more in cardamom cultivation. Harvested cardamom is now commonly sold directly from farmers' doorstep, helping reduce transportation and marketing cost. Local farmers say rising prices and improved market demand have motivated them to return to cardamom farming and expand their orchards.
यो भन्दा विगत अगाडि चाहिँ अब निकै निम्नमा थियो, अब भाउ पनि तल अनि मान्छेको उत्पादन पनि कमी नै थियो। अब यो निरन्तर भाउ लगभग 4 देखि चाहिँ अलिकति भाउ आइराखेको कारणले गर्दाखेरि मान्छेहरू कृषकहरू चाहिँ उत्साहित छन्।
In Bhojpur district, large cardamom is cultivated across approximately 597 hectares of land. Popular local varieties such as Ramsahi, Golsahi, Dumbarsahi, and Jirmali are widely grown in the area. Often referred as the black gold of the hills due to its high value, it has been an integral part of farmers in the region for more than 150 years. In the last few years, the price of cardamom has risen by almost 400%. Nepal primarily exports large cardamom to India, which serves as a major re-export hub to the Middle East, including the UAE, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, Europe such as Germany and Italy, as well as the United States, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Beyond the cities and the headlines, real life continues to unfold. Stories shaped by struggle, strengthened by resilience, and carried forward by hope. This is the Hinterland, and we'll be back next week with more stories from the heart of Nepal. Goodbye for now.
Invoking the eternal, celebrating the divine, a typical Nepali festival that defines indigenous dwellers of Kathmandu Valley, the Neva community. The country celebrates not just gods, but also the divine spark within every soul. In the heart of the Kathmandu Valley, where every courtyard breathes history, the Neva community observes Ma Puja, a ritual devoted to the reverence of one's own being.
प्राणी भएर हामी मनुष्य भएर जन्मिएपछि
हामी अब स्वयं आफूले आफ्नो आत्ममै नै सबभन्दा ठुलो कुरो हो त्यो यो आफू नै सर्वश्रेष्ठ हो त्यसलाई आफूले सम्मान गर्ने एउटा परिपाटी हो यो म भनेको आफू नै भयो स्वयं भयो सेल्फ रेस्पेक्ट हो एक किसिमले यो भन्नाले यसको चाहिँ नि यो के इम्पोर्टेन्ट महत्त्व चाहिँ धेरै गहिराइमा छ यो हामी अरू देवी देवताले जति मान्छौँ त्यो जस्तै नै हामी आफूलाई पनि मान्नुपर्छ यो भने आत्मसम्मान हो यो
Marking the festival of Tihar, family members sit before mandalas drawn with care, their patterns depicting the vastness of the cosmos and the central point symbolizing the self. As oil lamps glow and offerings of grain are placed with quiet devotion, the ritual becomes a meditation on harmony. It's a belief that all divinity does not dwell afar but lives within. The preparation begins with cleaning and decorating the house, symbolizing the removal of negativity. A sacred mandala, a circular design drawn on the floor with colored powders, rice, flowers, and oil lamps is created for each family member. The mandala represents the universe and the individual's connection to the cosmic energy.
मण्डला भनेको संस्कृतको उसमा चाहिँ सर्कल के त्यो गोलाकारलाई चाहिँ जलाइन्छ त्यसलाई भन्छ हैन अनि अर्को चाहिँ त्यसले चाहिँ के गर्छ भन्दाखेरि रिप्रेजेन्टेड टु युनिभर्स भन्छौ त्यो नेभर एन्डिङ भन्छौ नि हैन सर्कलमा त तपाईको उनै हुँदैन नि त्यो चलिरा हुन्छ त्यसलाई रिप्रेजेन्ट गर्छ मण्डलाले
Family members sit before their respective mandalas as the ritual begins. Each person draws their own mandala, which serves as a spiritual focal point during the ritual. The mandala represents the individual's body, soul, and mind and forms the base for the rest of the offerings. Traditionally, the ritual is performed by families with each member sitting in a meditative pose. They align themselves in a row according to age, with begging with the eldest. This group setting underscores the communal aspect of the ritual, while the meditative posture encourages mindfulness and introspection.
We can celebrate ourselves, that is, we do puja for our body to be healthy, for more healthy for the next coming years also we also forget our past deeds or any bad activities or good activities that we have done.
Offerings of sagun or ceremonial offerings comprising boiled egg, fish, meat, lentil cake and rice wine are presented, representing balance and completeness in life. The ritual also includes tikka, a mixture of vermilion and rice placed on the forehead, denoting purity and divine blessing. Fruits, nuts, and sweets are distributed, symbolizing abundance and goodwill, while the rotation of oil lamps around each person wards off evil spirits. The ceremony concludes with prayers for longevity, peace, and self-awareness. Mahapuja is not merely a ritual. It is a profound spiritual act that reminds every individual to respect the self as sacred, to maintain inner balance, and to carry positive energy into the coming year. Mahapuja coincides with the Nepal New Year, Nepal Sambat, marking both renewal and reflection.
महपूजा गरिसकेपछि चाहिँ एकदम आनन्द आउँछ, खुसी हुन्छ, खुसी लाग्छ किनभने सम्पूर्ण सबै परिवारहरू दाजुभाइ आमा बुवाहरूसँग बसेर सबैजना यो महपूजा गर्दाखेरि यसलाई छुट्टै एउटा चाहिँ ऊर्जा र उमङ्ग दिएको चाहिँ मैले महसुस गरेको छु हैन। त्यो कारणले गर्दाखेरि यो महपूजाले चाहिँ मलाई चाहिँ कस्तो फिल दिन्छ भन्दाखेरि एउटा चाहिँ एकदम पोजिटिभ हैन, एउटा चाहिँ आउने दिनहरू मैले पनि के गर्न चाहिँ सक्छ, अब म के गर्न सक्छु भन्ने जस्तो एउटा चाहिँ यो पोजिटिभ चाहिँ इनर्जी चाहिँ मलाई दिएको जस्तो मैले अनुभव गरेको छु।
The ritual honors the body as a living embodiment of the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air and sky, believing each person of their connection to the natural world. In worshipping the self, one reaffirms balance among these elements and begins the year grounded, focused, and in harmony with life itself.
Khalida Zia, Bangladesh's first female prime minister and an arch-rival of outstate leader Sheikh Hasina, has died from a prolonged illness. She was 80 years old. Zia intended to run for a third term as prime minister in February, when the country will vote for the first time since a popular revolution in late 2024 unseated Hasina. Thrust into the political limelight following the assassination of her husband, then President Zia-ur-Rahman, she went on to become Bangladesh's first female prime minister in 1991. Her career, which included spells in prison and house arrest, was defined by a bitter feud with Hasina. She was acquitted of corruption and allowed to travel to London for treatment only after Hasina lost power. Physicians said on Monday that Zia's condition was extremely critical. She was put on life support, but it was not possible to provide multiple treatments at the same time given her age and overall poor health. She was released in January 2025, soon after mass anti-government protest in Bangladesh toppled Hasina, forcing her into exile in India. The BNP said in November that Zia would campaign in the upcoming general elections. The party is eyeing a return to power, and if that happens, Zia's son Tariq Rahman is expected to become the country's new leader. Despite being kept away from public life due to her health, Zia remained a figurehead for opposition forces. During her final days, interim leader Muhammad Yunus had called for the country to pray for Zia, calling her a source of utmost inspiration for the nation. Yunus offered his condolences for the passing of Zia, whom he described as a symbol of the democratic movement. U.S. President Donald Trump said he hoped to reach phase 2 of the Gaza peace plan very quickly, as he warned Hamas would have hell to pay if it did not disarm soon. The U.S. president, whose 20-point peace plan requires the militant group to disarm, made the comments as he met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Florida for talks on Monday. During a press conference with Netanyahu after their meeting, Trump said Israel had lived up to the plan 100%, despite continuing attacks by its military in Gaza.
Well, I'm not concerned about anything that Israel's doing. I'm concerned about what other people are doing or maybe aren't doing. But I'm not concerned. They've lived up to the plan.
The US president also said his country could support another major strike on Iran or it to resume rebuilding its ballistic missile or nuclear weapons program.
And speaking of Iran, I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup. So I hope Iran is not trying to build up, as I've been reading that they're building up weapons and other things. And
Trump also said reconstruction in Gaza could begin pretty soon. The Gaza peace plan came into effect in October. Under the second phase, a technocratic government would be established in the devastated territory. Hamas would disarm and Israeli troops would withdraw. The reconstruction of Gaza would then begin. But critics have suggested Netanyahu could seek to delay the process of the plan and instead push for Hamas to disarm before Israeli troops withdraw. The Israeli Prime Minister has been accused of not wanting to engage seriously with the issue of a political future for Palestinians. Hamas officials have said a full disarmament should take place alongside progress towards an independent Palestinian state. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has denied allegations by Russia that Ukraine launched a drone attack on one of President Vladimir Putin's residence and accused Moscow of trying to derail peace talks. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov claimed Kiev had launched an attack overnight using 91 long-range unmanned aerial vehicles on Putin's state residence in Russia's northwestern Novgorod region. He added there were no reports of casualties or damage as a result of the attack. Russia says it will now review its position in peace negotiations. It is not yet clear where Putin was at the time of the alleged attack. Ukrainian leader Zelensky dismissed the claim as typical Russian lies intended to give the Kremlin an excuse to continue attacks on Ukraine. He said that Russia had previously targeted government buildings in Kiev. The claim by Moscow comes following talks between the US and Ukraine in Florida on Sunday, where Presidents Trump and Zelensky discussed a revised peace plan to end the war. Cambodian Buddhist monks led a public prayer calling for peace and for a ceasefire with Thailand to hold, days after the two countries agreed to halt fighting along their disputed border. Cambodia and Thailand reached an agreement on December the 27th for an immediate ceasefire following renewed clashes that left dozens of people dead and forced more than 1 million residents to flee their homes on both sides of the border. Despite the agreement, tensions remain high. Thailand's army has accused Cambodia of violating the ceasefire, saying in a statement that more than 250 unmanned aerial vehicles were detected flying from the Cambodian side after the truce took effect. Cambodian authorities have not publicly responded to the allegations. The monks' prayer ceremony comes amid growing concern over the stability of the ceasefire and calls from religious leaders and civilians for restraint and a lasting resolution to the conflict. China has proposed strict new rules for artificial intelligence AI to provide safeguards for children and prevent chatbots from offering advice that could lead to self-harm or violence. Under the planned regulations, developers will also need to ensure their AI models do not generate content that promotes gambling. The announcement comes after a surge in the number of chatbots being launched in China and around the world. Once finalized, the rules will apply to AI products and services in China, marking a major move to regulate the fast-growing technology, which has come under intense scrutiny over safety concerns this year. The draft rules, which were published at the weekend by the Cyberspace Administration of China (CAC), include measures to protect children. They include requiring AI companies to offer personalized settings, have time limits on usage, and getting consent from guardians before providing emotional companionship services. Chatbot operators must have a human take over any conversation related to suicide or self-harm and immediately notify the user's guardian or any emergency contact, the administration says. Chinese AI company DeepSeek made headlines worldwide this year after it topped app download charts. An avalanche in the Spanish Pyrenees has killed 3 skiers, emergency services said, as rescue teams searched the area and warned of unstable snow conditions. The avalanche struck a backcountry skiing area in the northern mountain range, sweeping the victims downhill and burying them under snow. Officials say the skiers were located and recovered after rescue efforts but were pronounced dead at the scene. Officials have not released further details on the victims or the precise cause of the avalanche. Mountain rescue services urged skiers and hikers to heed safety advisories, noting an elevated risk of avalanches in several high-altitude areas of the Pyrenees. Ulucalar Art Estate, located in central Ankara of Turkey, is drawing growing numbers of visitors as a cultural destination where traditional crafts and contemporary artistic practices converge. The pedestrian street features 26 active workshops hosting 42 artists working across a broad range of disciplines. Visitors can observe and engage with art forms including Ebru or paper marbling, felt making, tile art, carpet weaving, calligraphy, illumination, and woodwork. Organizers say the open studio model allows the public to interact directly with artists and gain insight into the creative process rather than experiencing art solely through finished works. Many of the crafts on display are rooted in centuries-old Anatolian traditions but are being reinterpreted with modern techniques and design approaches. Ulucalar Art Estate has become a popular stop for both local residents and tourists, positioning itself as a living art space that blends heritage and creativity in an urban setting. As matcha cements its place as a drink of choice in trendy cafes from Los Angeles to London, Japanese producers are struggling to keep pace with the surge in global demand that is reshaping the centuries-old tea industry. The powdered green tea, once consumed mainly in traditional tea ceremonies, has become a global lifestyle product featured in lattes, desserts, smoothies, and wellness brands. Similar stories are emerging from cafes and retailers across the United States and Europe, where wholesalers have begun rationing stock and raising prices. Producers say the problem is not simply demand, but the difficulty of scaling up production. High-quality matcha is made from tencha leaves that are set ground for weeks, carefully harvested and stone ground into a fine powder. These labor-intensive methods limit how quickly output can increase without compromising quality. Many tea farms are also small, family-run operations facing labor shortages and aging workforce. Climate pressures have added to the challenges. Heat waves and erratic weather in Japan also damage tea crops, reducing productions at a time when demand is at record high. As a result, prices for tencha have climbed sharply, pushing up costs throughout the supply chain. The shortage has also sparked concerns over authenticity as lower quality green tea powders from outside Japan enter the market, sometimes mislabeled as matcha. Japanese producers warn this could dilute the reputation of the product even as they struggle to meet global appetite. Peruvian shamans gathered on a cliff overlooking the capital Lima to perform traditional rituals to welcome the new year, using symbolic offerings to make predictions for 2026. The ceremony involved coca leaves and images of prominent world leaders, which shamans used to visualize global political and social developments in the coming year. During the ritual, a traditional cone-based drink was poured over the photographs of international figures, and the images were struck with flowers as part of the spiritual practice. Among the leaders featured were U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, reflecting the shamans' focus on global power dynamics in their predictions. Such ceremonies are held annually in Peru, blending indigenous Andean and Amazonian spiritual traditions. Practitioners believe the rituals help interpret future events and bring balance and protection for the year ahead. As the annual winter fishing event heats up at the Chagan Lake in northeast China's Jilin province, fishermen have welcomed the season's first red net, which means a haul exceeding 50,000 kilograms in a single net. The lake's record for a red net stands at an astounding 260,000 kilograms. The adoption of scientific fishing methods has increased fish density in the lake, consequently raising the frequency of these remarkable red nets each year. Chagan Lake's ice fishing tradition, which dates back to Layo dynasty, was recognized as a national intangible cultural heritage in 2008. The ancient method of net fishing requires teamwork. Once the fishing master picks an area for the catch, hundreds of holes are drilled along the perimeter to form a cycle. The giant net is then lowered into the water. Its two wings are guided through the holes by a fisherman using ropes attached to the net. At this stage, horses step in. They drive tiles anchored on the ice, which reel out or pull in the ropes with steady force. The time-honored winter fishing at the Chagan Lake has become a signature tourism attraction in the city. As the year-end tourism peak approaches, Hanoi is rolling out a series of technology-driven upgrades at major historical and heritage sites using light projection, sound design, virtual reality, and interactive applications to modernize visitor experiences. Officials say the integration of digital technology is aimed at making heritage tourism more accessible and engaging while offering deeper insight into the capital's history, architecture, and cultural identity. One of the latest initiatives is the tour named Memories of the Flag Tower. The program allows visitors to explore all three levels of the Hanoi Flag Tower's base and its interior spaces, areas previously inaccessible to the public. Similar approaches are being applied at other sites. A newly launched artistic lighting space at Hoan Kiem Lake and Total Tower has introduced large-scale lighting installations, marking the start of a series of cultural and artistic activities welcoming the 2026 New Year. Hanoi, recognized by UNESCO as a creative city, is increasingly positioning its heritage sites as living spaces for experiences, using contemporary technologies to reinterpret history while promoting sustainable cultural tourism.
The people and wildlife of the Everest region are facing profound challenges due to the melting glaciers, erratic weather patterns, altered rainfall cycles, and escalating temperature. Shrinking glaciers are the growing expanse of glacial lakes in the Himalayas, heightening the threat of sudden and catastrophic disasters. According to a study conducted by ICIMOD and UNDP, out of 1,466 glacial lakes in the country, 21 have been identified as potentially dangerous, of which 6 have been placed in the high-risk category, such as Lake Imza in Solukhumbu district. Rapid glacial melting, glacial lake outbursts, and unusual flooding are rare phenomena in the Everest region. A team of science journalists from Nepal, India, Bhutan, and Bangladesh undertook a 12-day journey from Kathmandu to Everest Base Camp to report on the impact of climate change on the base camp and its surroundings. It is a unique and once-in-a-lifetime experience for the journalists. Flights in the mountainous regions are naturally difficult and can be intimidating. Even so, the participants of Himalayan Climate Bootcamp 2024 are excited to experience this unique once-in-a-lifetime journey.
We are excited.
Yes.
Yes.
Very excited. Now excited.
The plane finally touched down at Tenzing Hillary Airport in Lukla, situated at an altitude of 2,846 meters and widely regarded as the world's most dangerous airport. Upon arrival, the picturesque Himalayan market, Lukla eagerly greeted us. Located in Khumbu Pasang Lamu rural municipality, Lukla served as a key starting point for the Everest Base Camp trek. The Sherpa community, prominent in the Everest region, includes individuals who hold world record in Everest climbing. The goal of the Boot Camp 2024 was to produce a report on the impact of climate change, covering a journey from Lukla to Everest Base Camp, located at an altitude of 5,364 meters. A group of 19 comprising science journalists, mentors, and 6 Sherpas assistants have begun the trek along the trail. As a group, people pass through Himalayan villages. They engage with locals, government officials, Nepal Army, guides, porters, and tourists, gathering fresh insight about the Everest region.
It was a really good experience. It was really cold, but not that hard.
On the first day of the boot camp, we overcame every obstacle to reach Monjo at 2,835 meters in the Dudkosi Valley. We passed through Phakding, which is at 2,610 meters. After walking for more than 6 hours from Lukla, the team members were exhausted. Each evening, program directors, mentors, and participant journalists would sit together to casually discuss the day's experience and plan the schedule for the next day. Data collection and interviews were carefully organized during these meetings. Informal conversation and interactions with locals played a key role in the bootcamp.
We are going to interact with stakeholders. That means you may know about the environmental issues, garbage, and other things. So, Sagarmatha Pollution Control Committee, SPCC, that is the key stakeholder in the region.
To mark World Press Freedom Day on May 3rd, an interactive program was held at Sagarmatha National Park, focusing on the importance of press freedom for science journalists. The event brought together local Sherpa business people, environment activists, government officials, representatives from Sagarmatha Pollution Control Committee, the park warden, political leaders, and trekking guides, among others.
7,000 को हाराहारीमा छ population 7,000 population 7,500 त्यस्तै हाराहारीमा छ गाउँ चाहिँ कतिवटा छ ठ्याक्कै 10 मा मोटामोटी त्यही 12-15 वटा गाउँहरु छन् तो आपके इसमें भी ऐसे बफर जोन रहता है बफर कोर एरिया रहता है कोर में अलाउड नहीं है पर बफर में रह सकते नो देयर इज द विलेज इनसाइड द कोर आल्सो as well as in the buffer also okay this modality is totally different from the modality of Tarai and the national park which you said that is right India.
The discussion centered on the press freedom and the impact of climate change on the livelihoods of the people in the Himalayan region. The next morning after breakfast, we visited Kancha Sherpa, member of Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay Sherpa's Everest expedition team.
Group ko leader नाम के John
यहाँ छेउमै रुख छ रुख काटेर 10 रुख भयो र
बेस क्याम्प गयो बेस क्याम्प पुऱ्याएपछि अनि आइसबलमा त्यो रुखको साङ्गो थापेर अनि हामी क्याम्प 1 बनायो अनि त्यही क्याम्प 1 बनाएपछि चाहिँ त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ अनि सबै सजिलो छ अनि त्यसो गरेर क्याम्प 2 मा सबै सी लेभल छ क्याम्प 3 मा पनि दुःख छैन अनि क्याम्प 4 मा चाहिँ अनि साउथ कोन हो अनि हामी त्यसो गरेर अनि एभरेस्ट चढाएको हामी चाहिँ गएन अनि हेरेर त्यहाँदेखि चाहिँ हामीले साउथ समिटमा पुऱ्यायो अक्सैहरू भोज्यो र पालाहरू भोज्यो र माथि साउथ समिटमा पुऱ्याएर हामी चाहिँ साउथ खोलमा सुत्न आयो.
Afterwards, we headed to the picturesque Himalayan villages of Khumzung, situated at 3,800 meters. Development of Khumzung began after the historic 1953 Everest climb by Hillary and Norgay. With the establishment of Kunde Hospital and Khumzung School by Hillary, there was significant improvements in health, education, and the overall livelihood of the local community. The team walked along steep trails, greeted by blooming rhododendrons, and reached Tengbote at 3,867 meters on the 4th day, where they spent the night. On the 5th day, they continued their journey, noticing changes in the Himalayas as the snow-covered peaks were now turning black. On the way to Dingboche at 4,410 meters, snowfall greeted them. To acclimatize to the altitude, the team stayed in Dingboche on the 6th day. On the 7th day, they moved on to Lobuche, crossing the steep Thukpa Pass. In the evening, they reached the Pyramid International Laboratory and Observatory in Lobuche at 5,060 meters, the world's highest altitude laboratory. During this, they also had an insightful interaction session with an international glaciologist, learning about the changes at Everest Base Camp.
Here in the region, with the French, we measure the Mera Glacier up until the peak. So we have stakes, we make a hole in the ice, we put a stake, and then next year we come and we measure how much that stake has emerged. And that's how much the surface of the glacier has lowered, and that corresponds to what the glacier has lost that year. And at the same time, we go to the upper part and we measure accumulation. So an interesting thing is that in the last 2 years, there has not been accumulation at the top of Mera Peak. That is 6,400 meters up and there's no accumulation. And that means that the glaciers are not getting fed up, they are just losing ice.
On the 8th day, the team arrived at Everest Base Camp at 5,364 meters and held an interaction with government officials.
I think this is a good initiation in the field of journalism science. Even without investing much more dollar money, nobody can come here.
The discussion focused on relocating the base camp, waste management, and the melting glaciers.
Finally, we made it to the base camp. This base camp is an altitude of 5,364 meters and is the part of the Himalayan climate camp. And we have 13 journalists from different countries, especially from the SAC region. from Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal, and is the historic event, and is the first event that journalists have came from the sea level to the highest level to conduct a boot camp, and we have a very lifetime experience, and we observed different issues like glacier melting, status of base camp, Everest base camp, and we met different stakeholders like climbers, government officials, and we have the concluding ceremony in the base camp, and we have government officials, Mr. Himlal Gautam.
On the 9th morning, the team headed back to Pangboche. On the 10th day, they arrived in Monjo. Upon returning to Lukla, they engaged in the conversation with climbers, local teachers, female guides, and porters. The evening was filled with entertainment, including a dance performance. Finally, on the 12th day, the team returned to Kathmandu. A sharing session was held on the 13th day. The boot camp was a success, with participants sharing dozens of stories.
Music all over the world is I think it's a universal language, and basically when it comes to musicians like us, we really get connected when somebody or from some part of music from different part of the world can go well together, and we can do so many different things, because we come from different culture, we come from different perspectives in life,
started jamming together, and then we were asked to play a festival at the Patan Museum called the Namlo Music Festival, Music and Heritage Festival, I believe it was called. And so we were asked to do that, and I said, okay, I'll put together a band with Prince. And then he called his old buddies from when he grew up jamming with them. I would play a bluegrass tune, and then they would say, oh, that sort of goes like this Nepali tune. And we would just go from one to the other, and then I would show them my songs, and we would do that. So that was 3 years ago now.
Joy and Prince has already said about it. Actually, they both first met each other. I mean, Joy knew Prince's father back in the US, and I was a struggling musician in Kathmandu, and I was a friend with Mr. Prince Nepali, and we used to play in some other different bands as well. And once Joy and Prince, they both met, and Prince was like, are you interested in doing something new, something different rather than rock and pop music? What about some fusions and bluegrass and folk music? And he challenged me like, do you want to do it or not? And I was like, okay, I'm up for it. And then actually it's that kind of story.
Actually, I'm planning like I haven't done any like production or anything like this with this instrument, so I'm actually planning for like trying to fuse a different instrument and get some production of different like percussion instrument and our traditional composition. Not just the there are also different instruments like key, ta, and different folk instrument as well. So I think. Also, I'm planning like to get collaborated with different folk artists and the traditional drummers to bring them together and then make some compositions or just play the already composed things and then just make out some videos and then share it with maybe on some social platforms like this.
The music that we are doing right now is like a crossover between American bluegrass music and Nepali folk music. And actually, first of all, we came up with an idea of just playing with each other, just jamming together. And we found out that, okay, so this could work very nicely together. So I'm using like a traditional instrument, sarangi, and we're combining this with the mandolin that comes from the US and the bluegrass music. And I think my idea is basically to present it like my folk culture and my traditional songs, and also like go together with the American music. I've been very fortunate and blessed to be born in such like musical family. So being a fourth generation, I think I never felt the pressure. First of all, because I enjoyed what I was doing, and then more than that, I think it's basically the kind of fun that I have with music, and I think there's some different intimacy between me and music, So I really enjoyed what I was doing, and I really had great fun. So I've been working on different projects and trying to inspire the youth at the moment in my life. So I have this project called Sarangi Ghar, where I basically have like classes. We also have the store. We do produce sarangi, and I think it's also encourages me to explore with the instrument itself, and the culture itself, because it's so beautiful. And like Nepal being so rich in culture and tradition, I want to like collaborate with different artists, folk artists in Nepal, and all from the world actually, and create different kind of new music with different caste and ethnic groups here in Nepal. They also have their own traditional instruments, folk instrument, And I think you must like find a way to have fun with it actually, and then I think more than anything else, actually, the youths can just enjoy what they have been like with the music itself, and I really actually want them to explore Nepali music more, Youth can basically have like an opportunity where they can just go explore, find an instrument. We have tungna, we have sarangi, we have many other instruments. Like if you go in the western part of Nepal, you have like far western part, you have hudke baza, and there's lots of binayo and everything. and I find Panche Baza is interesting as well. So everybody can explore like whatever interest they have. They don't have to take it very professionally. They can just enjoy with it actually. Himalayan Highway is like it's a music that's crossed between the Nepali folk and American bluegrass music. So today we'll be presenting mostly the fusion of like the instrumental thing, and we will be singing a few of our original songs. So yeah, I hope you'll enjoy.
चिसो हावासँग यो मेरो मनको भावनाहरूलाई सरररा उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँग यो मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई पानी परेको बादलहरू अझै पनि माथि माथि घामको न्यानो स्पर्शसँगै इन्द्रेणीको रङ्ग पनि त्यही सरररा उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँग यो मेरो मनको भावनाहरूलाई सरररा उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँग यो मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई मन मेरो खुला आकाशै भरिएको छ जुन र ताराले आफ्नो खुसी यहाँ आफै खुसी उडी जान्छु हावा बनी सरररा उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँगै हो मेरो मनको भावनाहरूलाई सरररा उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँगै हो मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई
Actually, our first name was Manaslu Blue. The blue was for bluegrass, and then Manaslu was for Nepal. But then I was about a year in, I was brainstorming with my parents, and our goal with the band is to bring it abroad. I come from my perspective of American folk music, and these guys bring their wonderful Nepali folk music. And I think the goal of the band is to share this amazing fusion and to show people especially how amazing Nepali folk music is and how much we can do these cross-cultural collaborations. But the thing about Manaslu Blue is that no one outside of Nepal knows the mountain Manaslu. So then I was thinking with my dad, and somehow we came to Himalayan Highway. Highway is a very American thing, and there are a lot of bluegrass bands, Blue Highway, Golden Highway, so it's a common name. And then we thought Himalayan to talk about Nepal and the region. Well, first of all, I just fell in love with Nepali culture. I love momos, I love dal bhat, I love it all. I love this beautiful country. We want to show more people the beautifulness of Nepal. I think that from my perspective, I love Nepali folk music, but in this country, sometimes people haven't valued it. They've looked to the West for other influences. And so one of our goals is to bring up Nepali folk and fusing it. We're not just doing pure folk music, but to show that this is a vibrant, evolving history and tradition that is still relevant today. And then I also think to people abroad, and especially to Nepalis, I want to show them that they can take their instruments and their culture and they can bring it to the world, and that it's so amazing. I mean, everyone who I know that maybe they don't know so much about Nepal, maybe the only thing they know is that Mount Everest is there. But then once they try a momo, once they hear some music, then they love it. And so we want to just share this music with more people and share the cross-cultural collaboration.
Cause all day I chug away at work and try to shove down all of the hurt. But sometimes at the end, does it fade on the page and my eyes just run a glaze? Finally it burn and I say hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. And I say hallelujah, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And I say hallelujah, let it burn, let it burn. And I say hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all.
There's a guy on the stage, and he's playing the guitar the wrong way around. And I also have to tell you that that's not his main instrument, in fact. His main instrument is the piano, but he also slays at the guitar. That's Mr. Enes Tamang.
Nowadays, I think many young generations, upcoming generations, like they are more over into like different. I mean, it doesn't mean to demean it, but people are more over into different kind of music rather than our own cultural music. And I think promoting like this, like promoting through our own traditional instrument like sarangi and tabla, and maybe fusing it. Of course, it's not like we don't utilize the Western culture. Also, we utilize it, but we should not forget like our own roots, our own culture. So yeah, I think it's important so that we could carry the legacy as well of our own musical instruments and our own culture as well. Our brand is like, it's like the main goal is to like, of course, promoting the folk culture, our own tradition and culture music, and with a unique taste, of course, as mentioned earlier. And I want to encourage you all to do music, like never give up. Like in some point of life, like we are doing it as a professionally, and some people might be like demotivated, or they might be like in confusion also whether should they pursue the music as their career or not. But I suggest them just do it. I know there is going to be ups and downs, there is going to be a lot of struggles, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And yes, of course, don't forget to promote their own culture as we are doing. We just wrote a song like few days ago, and it was so random, but it turned out so beautiful. It's called Samjana Bho, and it's a Nepali, like Prince wrote it. It's a Nepali song, but we are fusing it with the American bluegrass thing. Recently, it's the favorite. Not because it's just written in few days ago, but it has a very good meaning.
Story चाहिँ childhood love story को बारेमा हो, जहाँ चाहिँ दुईजना साथीहरू चाहिँ एकदमै स्कुल टाइमको लभदेखि नै धेरै अगाडि बढिसकेपछि चाहिँ एउटा पोइन्टमा चाहिँ जुन चाहिँ केटी साथी हुन्छ ऊ चाहिँ 4-5 वर्षको लभ पछि चाहिँ हराउँछ, र त्यो हराएको बेलामा चाहिँ केटाले चाहिँ धेरै थुप्रै प्रयासहरू गर्छ खोज्नलाई चाहिँ, तर कहिले पनि भेट्न सक्दैन। र पछि हिँड्दै जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ अब 5 इयर्स पास भइसकेपछि चाहिँ अगाडि गएर हिँड्दै बाटोतिर हिँड्दाखेरि चाहिँ उसले झसङ्ग एकजना चिनेको अनुहार देख्छ है। अनि चिनेको अनुहार देख्दाखेरि चाहिँ उसलाई चाहिँ अब उसले पहिला भेटेको मान्छे चाहिँ अलिकति चेन्ज भएको रहेछ, तर अगाडि जानलाई चाहिँ ऊ अगाडि बढिसकेको हुन्छ। तर त्यहाँ चाहिँ एउटा सानो बच्चाले चाहिँ त्यो केटीको हात समाएर हिँडिरहेको हुन्छ, जुन चाहिँ उसको छोरी हुन्छ। केटा चाहिँ अब अगाडि बढ्न सक्दैन, र त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ यो गीतको सुरुवात हुन्छ।
सम्झना सम्झना सम्झना
Well, there's one person who has actually the most microphones, but no vocal mic. He's got a master's in tabla performance, and he's just an amazing percussionist, Mr. Yusuf Maharjan.
So right now I'm using these three Eastern instruments. So basically, this instrument on my left side is called dhime. So this is our traditional ethnic Newari instrument. It's from Kathmandu Valley itself. Unique sound, actually. It's very bass boosted, and it's one of the very important instrument for our Kathmandu Valley, and it's used in most of the festivals. Like, you will barely see a festival where there is no dhime instrument. So I think the instrument that holds too many emotions of this valley and this country, it should be shared and should be known to the world. And so speaking about this mandal and tabla, and also with the tabla, I would say, like, all of these three instruments these are one of the really old instrument of the world, I would say. Like, it's more than 1,000 years old instrument. So it's already like history living and the sounding of history, you know. So I think it's really important that the Western music that's not even more than 500 years old is being too much exposed, and yet this more old and more dynamic instrument, not just dynamic, and also the compositions, the sound, the tonal quality, this instrument really needs highlight to the world. Yeah. At first, the whatever generation is alive right now, so they must actually pass down this tradition and this instrument, how to play the instrument, how to blend this instrument with different musics that's available in the world right now. Let's say. To be honest, I'm really proud right now because there is not too much like musicians who are promoting our own traditional music or our instruments. Lots of Nepali people and youngsters nowadays they are too much into Western music, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but I think along with the Western music, we should also try to share our Nepali culture, Nepali music. And so this is one of our initiatives to show the world how can we fuse Nepali folk instruments music with the American bluegrass music, and show them the new taste, how they sound with the fusion of these two different music from different worlds.
Gurung community of Nepal observed Tamul Lohsar today. Kirat Kulung community also welcomed New Year with celebrations. 64-party summit closed list on the proportional representation system for Nepal's upcoming election. Election Commission determines spending limits for candidates. Pokhara hosts its 27th annual street festival along Lakeside to welcome the New Year 2026 cultural processions, local markets, sports competitions, main highlights. Bangladesh's first female Prime Minister Khaleda Zia passes away from a prolonged illness at the age of 80. US President Donald Trump says he hopes to reach phase 2 of Gaza ceasefire very quickly after meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. And departmental teams Nepal Police and APF advances to the semi-finals in the women's category of the ongoing 9th NBA Volleyball Championship. Good evening, I am Aprila Gisinglama. This is NTV World News Hour coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in details. The Gurung community of Nepal is celebrating Tamul Lohsar today as their new year, marking the change of year with feasts and cultural programs. The festival falls on the 15th day of the Nepali month of Push and is observed in Gurung settlements across districts such as Lamjung, Gorkha, Kaski and Manang. Tamul Lohsar is based on a 12-year cycle called Lo, represented by different animals, and each year welcomes a new cycle while bidding farewell to the old one. This year, the community is saying goodbye to the snake cycle and welcoming the horse cycle. The government had declared a public holiday and special celebrations are being held at Tudikale in Kathmandu. Meanwhile, the Kirat Kulung community celebrated their new year by observing the Chakchakur festival on the 15th day of the Nepali month of Push. Lasting 3 days, Chakchakur marks off the start of the Kulung calendar year known as Yaledong. The celebration includes rituals like cleaning the hearth, offering fresh harvest to ancestors and seeking blessings from elders. Traditional dances and cultural performances are also an important part of the festivities. Events held in Kathmandu highlighted the need to protect and pass on Kulung language, culture and traditions to younger generations. More about these two festivals and other celebrations in Nepal that very well represents the country's rich diversity later in our cover story of this day segment. Now, Nepal is moving forward with preparations for the March 5 House of Representatives election as political parties complete key formalities. A total of 64 political parties have submitted their closed list under the proportional representation system at the election office in Bahadur Bhawan. According to the Election Commission, the list includes 3,424 candidates competing for 110 PR seats. Of the participating parties, 54 will use their own election symbols, while 10 will share symbols. The Election Commission will review the list, allow corrections from January 5 to 11, and publish the final PR closed list on February 3rd. Nepal's Election Commission has set spending limits for candidates contesting the House of Representatives election scheduled for March 5, 2026. The limits vary by constituency, with lower ceilings for remote areas and higher ones for districts with better access and connectivity. Candidates in constituencies 1, 3, 6, 7 and 8 may spend up to 2.5 million Nepali rupees, while those in 17 constituencies can spend up to 2.7 million Nepali rupees. The maximum limit rises to 2.9 million Nepali rupees in 65 constituencies, 3.1 million in 52 constituencies, and 3.3 million Nepali rupees in 26 constituencies. The Election Commission has also directed candidates to use a separate bank account for elections expenses and submit their expenditure details within 35 days after the polls. Now, Pokhara is hosting its 27th annual street festival to welcome the new year 2026 and attract both domestic and international tourists. Organized by the Restaurant and Bar Association of Pokhara, the event is taking place along the lakeside area under the slogan, "Eat on the street, celebrate on the street." The festival features cultural processions, local products and handicraft stalls, sports competitions, a waiters race, agricultural exhibitions and activities on Fewa Lake. Organizers shared details of the event during a press conference ahead of the celebrations. Tourism officials say the festival plays an important role in promoting Pokhara as a year-round tourist destination, especially during the New Year season. More about this later in our Issue of the Day segment. Bangladesh's first female Prime Minister and an arch-rival of ousted leader Sheikh Hasina, Khaleda Zia, has died from a prolonged illness at the age of 80. Zia intended to run for a third term as Prime Minister in February, when the country will vote for the first time since a popular revolution in late 2024 unseated Hasina. Thrust into the political limelight following the assassination of her husband, then President Ziaur Rahman, she went on to become Bangladesh's first female Prime Minister in 1991. Her career, which included spells in prison and house arrest, was defined by a bitter feud with Hasina. She was acquitted of corruption and allowed to travel to London for treatment only after Hasina lost power. Interim leader Muhammad Yunus offered his condolences for the passing of Zia, whom he described as the symbol of the democratic movement. U.S. President Donald Trump said he hoped to reach phase 2 of the Gaza peace plan very quickly, as he warned Hamas would have hell to pay if it did not disarm soon. Trump, whose 20-point peace plan requires the militant group to disarm, made the comments as he met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Florida for talks on Monday. During a press conference with Netanyahu after the meeting, Trump said Israel had lived up to the plan 100%, despite continuing attacks by its military in Gaza. The U.S. president also said his country could support another major strike on Iran, were it to resume rebuilding its ballistic missile or nuclear weapons programs. Trump also said reconstruction in Gaza could begin pretty soon. The Gaza peace plan came into effect in October. Under the second phase, a technocratic government would be established in the devastated territory. Hamas would disarm and Israel troops would withdraw. Departmental teams Nepal Police Club and Nepal APF Club have advanced to the semi-finals in the women's category of the ongoing 9th NVA Volleyball Championship. In today's match, Police defeated Nepal APF Club 3-2 to register their second consecutive win. Although APF lost one match in Group B, having won their previous two matches allowed them to qualify for the semi-finals despite today's defeat. With one match fewer played, both Police and APF have 6 points each. The match held at the National Sports Council's covered hall in Tripureshwar saw Police win with set scores of 25-21, 25-15, 22-25, 21-25 and 15-9. Meanwhile, in the men's category, APF and Khilji Youth Club have reached the quarter-finals. On the fifth day of the championship, APF secured the place in the last 8 by defeating Manimkunda Volleyball Club 3-0 in straight sets in the first match. In the final Group A match, APF beat Manimakund 25-10, 25-16 and 29-27. With this victory, APF advanced to the knockout stage as group runners-up. In today's second match, Khilji Youth Club registered their first win and qualified for the quarterfinals by defeating Dhorpatan Sports Club 3-0 with set scores of 25-15, 25-19 and 25-23. Help Nepal Sports Club had already secured a place in the quarterfinals earlier by winning both of their matches. Nepal's culture is richly diverse, shaped by the traditions, languages and beliefs of its many ethnic communities. Festivals such as Losar and Puse Pandra strengthen communal harmony by bringing people together to celebrate shared values, heritage and mutual respect. A special coverage of some of the festivals that were celebrated today in our Cover Stories segment after this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back to NTV World News Hour. Time now for our cover story. Nepal is witnessing a vibrant wave of indigenous celebrations, highlighting the country's rich cultural diversity and living traditions across communities and regions midwinter. The Gurung community marked New Year with Tamulosar celebrations. Kirat community welcomed New Year with Chakchakur festival, and Doti, among other far western districts, celebrated the 15th of the Nepali month of Pus, locally called Puse Pandra. Here's a report.
Nepal's central Gandaki province, home to majority Tamu or Gurung population, rejoiced in Tamu Losar, marking the farewell to the old year and the welcome of the new one. The festival was observed with great enthusiasm in Damoli, where colorful cultural rallies, traditional attire, indigenous symbols, dances, music and games filled the streets. The celebration reflected the pride of a Gurung majority district and Nepal's enduring spirit of unity in diversity. At the same time, the The Kirat Kulung community marked their new year through the Chakchakur festival, also observed on the 15th of the Nepali month of Posh. Celebrated for 3 days, Chakchakur signifies the beginning of the Kulung calendar year known as Yeledong. Rituals such as cleansing the hearth, offering newly harvested crops to ancestors, receiving blessings from elders, and performing traditional dances are an integral part. Programs organized in Kathmandu emphasize the importance of preserving language, culture, and traditions, especially for future generations. Meanwhile, in Doti and other districts of far western Sudur-Paschim province, people celebrated Puse Pandra, an indigenous festival unique to the region. Villagers gathered through the long winter night around large bonfires, sharing folk tales and warmth. Root crops like taro, sweet potatoes, and yams, along with bhakkani roti, cooked in embers, were central to the celebration. In some places, the night was also marked by communal feasting, symbolizing unity and togetherness. Together, these festivals showcase Nepal's cultural richness, communal harmony, and the deep-rooted traditions that continue to thrive across generations.
The Gurung community in Nepal welcomes its new year in late December with Tamul Lohsar, a festival fixed on the Nepali month of Push and based on a traditional 12-animal system of timekeeping distinct from January 1st calendar. Our colleague Bijita Bhandari reports.
While the rest of the world waits for the new year until January 1st, for the Gurung community in Nepal, the new year arrives a few days early, usually around December 30. Lohsar is the New Year festival celebrated by several Himalayan communities, primarily in Nepal and Tibet, the autonomous region of China. The Gurung community, which mainly resides in central and western Nepal, observes Lohsar called Tamul Lohsar in the 9th Nepali month of Push. In the Tibetan and Gurung languages, Lo means year and Sar means change. In Kathmandu, celebrations are centered at Turikhel, where the Gurung community organizes special programs showcasing their traditional attire and cultural heritage. 3 major Lohsar festivals are observed in Nepal, each linked to a distinct Himalayan community. The Gurungs celebrate Tamul Lohsar first, followed by Sonam Lohsar of the Tamang community around mid-January, and Gyalpo Lohsar of the Sherpa community around mid-February. While all 3 communities mark their new year with Lohsar, their calendars, rituals, and symbolic meanings differ, with some following the lunar calendar system and others following the solar calendar system. At the heart of Tamul Lohsar is the Gurung system of timekeeping, which divides the year into a cycle of 12 symbolic animals known as Lo. These animals include the eagle, serpent, horse, sheep, monkey, bird, dog, deer, mouse, cow, tiger, and a cat. Each is believed to represent qualities such as strength, harmony, vigilance, and adaptability. This structure draws a parallel with the Chinese zodiac, which also follows a 12-animal cycle, where each year is represented by one of the animals. According to Chinese mythology, a great race organized by the Jade Emperor determined the 12 animals for the calendar. Although 13 animals, including a cat, participated, the cat was tricked by the rat and missed inclusion in the final 12. The Gurung Lo shares some similarities with the Chinese zodiac, but it is deeply rooted in local culture, oral traditions, and indigenous knowledge, and it uniquely includes the cat. Each Lohsar marks a moment of transition. This year, the Gurung community bids farewell to the snake year and welcomes the horse year. While other major Lohsars in Nepal follow the lunar calendar, Tamul Lohsar follows Nepal's Bikram era, which always falls on Push 15 around the end of December.
खस बाहुनहरूले पनि पुष 15 देखि अब दिन लामो हुँदै जान्छ भन्ने मान्यता राख्छ। मगरको युवा युवतीहरूले पुष 15 को दिन खुवा खाने, खुवा खाएर केटाले केटी रोज्ने, केटीले केटा रोज्ने। तर गुरुङले यसलाई चाहिँ नयाँ वर्ष माने भने खस बाहुनको पनि पर्व, मगरको पनि पर्व, गुरुङको पनि पर्व। अब पुष 15 को चाहिँ बिहानदेखि पृथ्वीको उत्तरी गोलार्धमा अब सूर्यको किरण सोझो पर्न थाल्छ अनि त्यसपछि रात लामो हुने क्रम बन्द हुन्छ, दिन लामो हुने क्रमको सुरुवात हुन्छ। त्यस कारणले गुरुङहरूले पुष 15लाई लोछार नयाँ वर्ष भनेर मानेको.
More than a festival, Tamu Losar not only celebrates and reaffirms Gurung cultural identity, but also highlights a deep historical and regional connection, bridging communities and traditions across the Himalayas, and reminding us of the enduring value of indigenous knowledge in shaping cultural continuity.
Those were our cover stories of the day. Up next, we bring you a special report on Nepal's tourism hub Pokhara, where a New Year special street festival is drawing visitors and creating memorable celebrations. At the same time, we'll look at the contrasting reality of Panchase, once a popular tourist destination on the Sangza-Kaski border, now fading due to long neglected road access and essential infrastructure. Stay with us for these stories in our Issue of the Day segment after this break. Welcome back. Time now for Issue of the Day. Nepal's diverse landscapes and rich cultural heritage showcase the country's immense tourism potential. Yet for some destinations, this potential remains largely untapped. Panchase, a small hamlet atop a hill in central Nepal, is a perfect example of what neglected infrastructures do to a thriving tourist hub. The well-known tourist spot bordering Nepal's central hill districts, Sangza and Kaski, nowadays is quiet. Access of roads and essential infrastructure in the area has been long neglected. Our colleague Rosina Rai with our local correspondent Himal Nupane explained the reality.
Once a thriving spot for travelers, Panchase, a prominent hill station and pilgrimage site in Nepal's Annapurna region, has fallen silent in recent days. Hills packed with camping tents of tourists, dining at crowded local hotels, and enjoying the breathtaking sight of the Himalayas have become a fading memory. Once a popular route for short of the beaten path treks from Pokhara, Panchase has been largely deserted as road access and essential infrastructures have long been neglected. Of the 50 households that once thrived, only 8 remain after large migration trend in the area.
विगतका दिनहरुमा यहाँ स्वदेशी तथा विदेशी पर्यटकहरुको उपस्थिति एकदमै खचाखच रूपमा रहन्थ्यो. पछिल्लो दिनहरुमा यहाँ आउँदाखेरि होटलको संख्या घट्दो अनि ठाउँ सुनसान जस्तो देखियो.
Locals lament that lack of basic infrastructure, including schools, healthcare services, and a reliable road, citing these as the main reasons behind the decline. Tourism, which was once the backbone of the village economy, has vanished due to high cost of food or lodging caused by poor inland connectivity. Bordering two hilly districts, Sangza and Kaski, Panchase has struggled to secure development budgets from the Gandaki provincial government. Experts warn that Panchase's decline is not an isolated case but part of a broader trend across Nepal, where inadequate infrastructure drives migration and neglects promising tourist destinations. Local representatives emphasize that federal, provincial, and local governments must coordinate effectively, prioritizing the development of roads, schools, and health services to revive both tourism and the livelihoods. As a sacred pilgrimage site for both Hindus and Buddhists, Panchase offers a spiritual allure alongside its natural beauty. With its immense tourism potential, the region awaits better attention and investment from all three tiers of the government.
As Panchase struggles with decline in tourism due to poor infrastructure, nearby Pokhara is experiencing a contrasting boom with the 27th Pokhara Street Festival. The festival, which began last Sunday, has attracted both domestic and international tourists. Organized by the Restaurant and Bar Association of Pokhara, the festival promotes the city as a top destination for English New Year celebrations. With the slogan, "Eat on the street, enjoy on the street," visitors enjoy cultural parades,
handicraft markets, waiter races, agricultural exhibitions, and international and local cuisine. The 5-day event also showcases traditional attire, arts and culture, drawing praise from both local and foreign tourists for its vibrant and immersive experience. Tourism experts suggest that festivals like Pokhara's not only boost the local economy but also reinforce the importance of accessibility and infrastructure in attracting visitors. Events like the Pokhara Street Festival show the potential for tourism-driven growth when infrastructure and promotion are prioritized. We asked the public what they like about this festival the most, the city or Nepal, in our public polls for today. Let's take a look.
You can observe any types of culture and other activities around Nepal. Like, for example, also Tharu culture, they are relatively lives on south part of Nepal, but they are here at the moment. Also Magar, Gurung, different types of ethnic groups and different populations around here. So this is one of the biggest festival. You can enjoy and see the different types of activities around here. That's why this is more important, very important.
So basically in this festival, so the peoples can come like all over the Nepals, especially all the domestic people, as well as the international peoples. They come to Nepal for celebration the New Year's and also the New Year Eves. Because these festivals, it's recognized worldwide, especially our neighbor country like India and the border city of India. So many Indian peoples, they just come for like celebrations the New Year Eve in here.
I really enjoyed the festival here in Pokhara for New Year's. It's a great way to see Nepali culture, great way to try all the different kinds of food that you can get here in Nepal. And yeah, there's a lot of really nice small events going on in the background. There's musical going on, there's dancing. It's just a really awesome event, and it's a great way to celebrate New Year's. It's an awesome place to come. People come from all over the world to see this festival. And I think the more international audience we can attract here for the Pokhara Festival, the better we can get it onto the international screen and you're able to see exactly what goes on here in Pokhara. As a lot of businesses put in a lot of hard work, creating their food stalls, creating their arts and crafts to sell and to demonstrate for you guys. So I think it's a very important festival for Nepal.
In Nepal, New Year Street Festival play an important role in promoting Nepali tourism. The street festival shows Nepal's rich cultures, music, food, and traditional, while creating a joyful atmosphere. Festival supported many entrepreneurs, like small or big entrepreneurs, local restaurant, hotel.
That was our Issue of the Day segment. Moving on, as Nepal prepares for its upcoming elections, Prime Minister Sushila Karki has reaffirmed the government's commitment to building a nation young people desire through peaceful, constitutional and democratic processes. Addressing the Tamul Lohsar festival at Tudikil of Kathmandu, the Prime Minister said that free and fair elections conducted in an atmosphere of enthusiasm from the main foundation of democracy.
राजनीतिक दलहरूका तर्फबाट उत्साहका साथ समानुपातिक निर्वाचन प्रणालीमा तर्फका उम्मेदवारहरूको बन्द सूची निर्वाचन आयोगमा पेश भएका छन्। यसबाट निर्वाचन सम्पन्न गर्ने दिशामा नयाँ कोसे ढुङ्गा पार गरेका छौं। यसका लागि राजनीतिक दलको नेतृत्व तथा युवाहरूले देखाउनु भएको सुझबुझका लागि आभार व्यक्त गर्दछु। सरकारले शान्ति, सुरक्षा र सुव्यवस्था कायम गर्दै भयरहित वातावरणमा निर्वाचन सम्पन्न गर्न कुनै कसर बाँकी राखेको छैन। यस कार्यमा सबै राजनीतिक दल, नागरिक समाज र सम्पूर्ण नेपाली दाजुभाइ दिदीबहिनीहरूको साथ सहयोग र सक्रिय सहभागिता अत्यन्त आवश्यक छ। मुलुकले अब थप अस्थिरता होइन, स्थायित्व र विश्वास चाहेको छ। हामी सबै मिलेर शान्ति, एकता र समृद्धिको मार्गमा अघि बढ्नुको विकल्प छैन।
CPN UML chairperson KP Sharma Oli has asserted that only UML and Nepali Congress are capable of forming the government in the coming days. speaking at a seminar organized by the Madan Ashrit Memorial Foundation, only dismissed reports of power-sharing deals among other parties and criticized attempts to casually distribute the Prime Minister's post. He said alliance building among smaller parties would not affect UML, stressing that major and experienced democratic forces like UML and NC would continue to lead the country. Oli also emphasized that a reinstatement of parliament remains UML's top priority to resolve the ongoing political deadlock.
हामी चुनाव पर्खिरहेका छौं चुनावबाट नै हामी जस्तो महाधिवेशनबाट हामीले धेरै कुराहरूको जवाफ दिएका छौं त्यस्तै निर्वाचनबाट राष्ट्रिय फैसला पनि हामी दिनेछौं यसका लागि हामी तयार छौं भन्ने कुराको सन्देश पनि महाधिवेशनले दिएको छ।
Moving on, daily life in Baque and other districts of the Tarai has been affected due to increasing cold over the past few days. The cold has intensified as sunshine has been absent. Schools have been closed because of the cold weather. Local governments have arranged fire warming facilities in public places in areas such as Khajura, Puerna, Phultekra, Alannagar and other locations. The army has provided firewood to help people keep warm. Doctors have advised people to go outside only when necessary, wear warm clothes and consume plenty of hot and liquid foods to protect themselves from the cold. Nepal marked its first National Mushroom Day to promote production, consumption and exports of mushrooms. Mushrooms play a growing role in the agricultural economy, involving about 35,000 farmers and contributing 0.15% to agricultural GDP. With favorable climate conditions, year-round cultivation has expanded to 70 districts. Nepal has over 1,150 mushroom species and exports now exceed imports, with the annual mushroom trade estimated at around 20 billion Nepali rupees. Now, new modern public toilets and mobile toilet units have begun operating in Kailali and Kanchanpur districts of Western Nepal with financial support from the government of Japan and coordination by the Asian Development Bank, ADB. The project addresses a chronic lack of public sanitation facilities in urban market areas, a problem affecting shoppers, commuters, women, children, elderly people, and persons with disabilities. Across Nepal, 15 permanent public toilets and 30 mobile toilet units have been constructed under the initiative. In Sudar Paschim province, Kailali has received 2 permanent toilets and 3 mobile units, while Kanchanpur has 2 permanent toilets and 1 mobile unit. The facilities are designed to be disability-friendly and environmentally sustainable. Local authorities say the new infrastructure has significantly improved cleanliness in public spaces and during large gatherings, supporting efforts to maintain open defecation-free status and advance the region's Clean City initiative. International news coming up next. For now, a quick recap of the headlines. Gurung community of Nepal observed Tamil Losar today. Kirat Kulung community also welcomed New Year with celebrations. 64-party summit closed list under proportional representation system for Nepal's upcoming election. Election Commission determines spending limits for candidates. Pokhara hosting its 27th annual street festival along Lakeside to welcome the New Year 2026. Cultural processions, local markets, competitions being highlights. Bangladesh's first female Prime Minister Khaleda Zia passes away from a prolonged illness at the age of 80. US President Donald Trump says he hopes to reach phase 2 of Gaza ceasefire very quickly after meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. And departmental teams Nepal Police and APF advances to the semi-finals in the women's category of the ongoing 9th NVA Volleyball Championship. A Saudi-led coalition said it targeted on Tuesday a large quantity of weapons and combat vehicles destined for separatist forces that were being offloaded from ships at a port in Yemen coming from the UAE. Yemen has been fighting a crippling war as armed factions loosely grouped under the government and backed by the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia turn on each other. The UAE-backed Southern Transitional Council, STC, which seeks to revive the formerly independent state of South Yemen, has in recent weeks swept through swaths of the country, expelling other government forces and their allies. The Saudi-led coalition warned on Saturday that it would back Yemen's government in any military confrontation with separatist forces and has urged them to withdraw peacefully from recently seized provinces. The coalition targeted 2 ships carrying a large quantity of weapons and combat vehicles to support the Southern Transitional Council forces. Now, the U.S. military said 2 people were killed in a strike on an alleged drug smuggling boat in the Eastern Pacific, raising the total fatalities in Washington's counter-narcotics operations in the region to at least 107. In a post on X, U.S. Southern Command said intelligence confirmed the vessel was traveling along known narcotics trafficking routes and was actively engaged in smuggling operations. The campaign targets transnational criminal organizations that use the Eastern Pacific to transport cocaine and other illicit drugs to North America. U.S. forces have carried out a series of maritime and aerial operations in coordination with regional partners to disrupt these smuggling networks. Officials say the operations are part of an ongoing effort to curb the flow of illegal drugs, though they have drawn scrutiny from human rights groups concerned about civilian casualties and the transparency of U.S. actions abroad. Now, India's DRDO successfully tested 120-kilometer strike-range Pinaka rocket, marking a major milestone in indigenous rocket artillery program. The Defense Research and Development Organization on Monday successfully conducted the maiden flight test of the Pinaka long-range guided rocket LRGR-120 at the Integrated Test Range in Chandipur. The rocket was tested for its maximum range of 120 kilometers, demonstrating all in-flight maneuvers as planned. The LGR impacted on the target with textbook precision. Indian Defense Minister Rajnath Singh said that the successful design and development of long-range guided rockets will boost the capabilities of armed forces, terming it as a game changer. Hundreds of worshippers gathered at Rio de Janeiro's Copacabana beach on Saturday to honor Iemanjá, the revered sea goddess in Afro-Brazilian religions. Participants dressed predominantly in white carried flowers, candles and other offerings in small boats, which they released into the Atlantic Ocean as part of an end-of-year ritual. The ceremony is a gesture of gratitude and devotion, blending African spiritual traditions with Brazilian culture. The celebration, which draws thousands of people annually, includes music, singing and drumming, creating a festive atmosphere along the beachfront. Local businesses and tourism operators see a boost from the ceremony, which has become both a religious and cultural attraction. The ritual reflects the resilience of Afro-Brazilian traditions and their integration into broader national identity. Heavy snowfall has blanketed Turkey's Soguksu region, transforming it into a striking winter landscape. Local authorities said the snowfall, while visually impressive, has disrupted travel on some rural roads and prompted warnings for deliveries in the area. Tourism officials said the seasonal weather may boost visits as photographers and nature enthusiasts are drawn to the serene winter setting. Environmental experts noted that such snowfall supports local ecosystems, replenishing water sources and benefiting wildlife. The Suguksu region, known for its forests and rivers, typically sees winter tourism increase after heavy snow, with visitors seeking to experience the region's natural landscape in their seasonal peak. We'll go for another break here. Business news and sports update coming up next.
Nepal has begun the chemical fertilizer procurement process months ahead of the rice planting season in an effort to prevent chronic shortages that have affected farmers for years. Every year, farmers across Nepal face fertilizer shortages during the peak rice plantation period from June to September, hurting crop yields and food security. To address the problem, the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development has started procurement early, saying the process of purchasing, importing and distributing fertilizer can take up to 7 months. For the current fiscal year, the government has invited bids to purchase 466,000 metric tons of chemical fertilizer. So far, 243,000 metric tons have been distributed, while more than 140,000 metric tons are either in stock or undergoing custom clearance. Looking ahead, Nepal has also initiated procurement for more than 300,000 metric tons of fertilizer for the next rice season. Fertilizer is sold to farmers at a 70% government subsidy. Officials say the move is aimed at improving agricultural productivity, reducing farmer hardship, and strengthening food security in the Himalayan nation. Global oil prices little changed today as investors took stock of dented hopes of a Russia-Ukraine peace deal and rising geopolitical tensions in the Middle East around Yemen. Brent crude futures for February delivery were up 15 cents at $62.09 a barrel. US West Texas Intermediate crude gained 14 cents to $58.22. The Brent and WTI benchmarks settled more than 2% higher in the previous session as Saudi Arabia launched airstrikes against Yemen and after Moscow accused Kyiv of targeting Putin's residence, denting hopes of a peace deal. Despite renewed fears of potential supply disruptions, perceptions of an oversupplied global market remain and could cap prices as per the report. Japan's SoftBank Group said it is acquiring US data center investor Digital Bridge in a deal valued at around $4 billion, marking another step in founder Masayoshi Son's strategy to expand the company's presence in artificial intelligence. The acquisition will give SoftBank access to Digital Bridge's portfolio of data centers and infrastructure assets, which are critical for supporting AI and cloud computing operations. SoftBank said the deal aligns with its broader plan to invest in digital infrastructure and next-generation technologies. Financial terms include a purchase price of approximately $4 billion, though the companies did not disclose details on financing or timelines for completion. It is said the acquisition strengthens SoftBank's position in the AI ecosystem by securing physical infrastructure that supports large-scale data processing. Sri Lanka has been named the 5th best place to visit in Asia for 2026, according to the latest rankings by US News and World Report. Mount Fuji topped the list, followed by Tokyo, Palawan and Seoul, with Sri Lanka securing the 5th position. The ranking was compiled by US News and World Report, a well-known American media organization, recognized for its global assessments and consumer-focused analysis. Destinations were evaluated using a data-driven approach and took into account factors such as affordability, ease of access, quality of cuisine, range of attractions, and feedback from readers. Focusing on Sri Lanka, the report highlighted the country's unique ability to deliver high-quality travel experiences without the intense crowds common in many popular Asia locations. It drew attention to Sri Lanka's exceptional blend of natural beauty and cultural heritage, encompassing lush rainforest, pristine beaches, ancient cities, and abundant wildlife. Despite its compact size, Sri Lanka features 26 national parks, providing opportunities for safaris where visitors can see elephants, leopards, and sloth bears.
Time for sports update. The World Darts Championship at London's Alexandra Palace, popularly known as Ally Pally, is drawing thousands of fans each day, many travelling from darts-loving countries such as Germany and the Netherlands. The event has become known not just for the competition but also for its lively fan culture, with spectators donning elaborate costumes ranging from Super Mario to the Pope. Organizers say the mix of sport and spectacle has helped make the championship one of the highlights of the winter sporting calendar. The championship features top-ranked players competing in a knockout format with matches broadcast internationally. Security and health protocols are in place to manage the large crowds which swell each weekend. It is said the event's growing popularity has helped increase sponsorship and media coverage of professional darts globally. Japanese football legend Kazuyoshi Miura said his passion for playing the game was as strong as ever after signing for a third division team at the age of 58 on Tuesday. Miura, known as King Kazu, will join Japan's Fukushima United on loan until June for what will be his 41st season as a professional footballer. He will turn 59 in February. His move to Fukushima sees him return to the J-League, the top 3 divisions of Japanese football, for the first time in 5 years. He made his Japan debut in 1990 but was famously left out of the squad for their first World Cup finals appearance in 1998, despite scoring 55 goals in 89 games for the national side. Time now for the weather update, first from Nepal and then from around the world. Now, before we wrap up, let's take a look into the headlines once again. Gurung community of Nepal observed Tamul Losar today. Kirat Kulung community also welcomed New Year with celebrations. 64 parties submit closed lists under proportional representation system for Nepal's upcoming election. Election Commission determines spending limits for candidates. Pokhara hosting its 27th annual street festival along Lakeside to welcome the New Year 2026. Cultural processions, local markets, main highlights. Bangladesh's first female Prime Minister Khaleda Zia passes away from a prolonged illness at the age of 80. US President Donald Trump says he hopes to reach phase 2 of Gaza ceasefire very quickly after meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. And departmental teams Nepal Police and APF advances to the semi-finals in the women's category of the ongoing 9th NTV Volleyball Championship. That is all for the moment. Do join us through our social media and visit us at www.nepaltelevision.com for more information and news. I am Iprilagi Singh Lama. Thank you for joining us. Good night.